When Yun Xiao's soul flew into the sky after his death, he saw a shocking scene. The vast world he had lived in for 16 years was shaped like a tomb. Under the tomb lies a giant ancient coffin, as big as Cangming, with a demonic aura soaring to the sky. Every land on the coffin is filled with piles of yellow earth, and billions of living people are thriving in the tomb soil. There is an immortal corpse inside the giant coffin, with eyes as deep as the earth, a mouth like a spring, hair like a dragon, and a body like a million mountains. I don't know where the immortal god lies, forever sleeping here. The young man's unjust soul never dies, and he escapes into the immortal corpse to resurrect himself. From then on, one person can kill 10 swords and pierce through the path of immortality, proving the way to the heavens. Keywords of the novel. The first Immortal of Taiku without a pop-up window. Download the complete collection of the first Immortal of Taiku TXT, and read the latest chapters of the first Immortal of Taiku. Chapter 1. One Generation of Creation Immortals. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. One Generation of Creation Immortals. Yun Xiao, you deserve to die 1,000 times. A wave of anger swept through the imperial city, causing the palace walls to tremble. As the ruler of a country, you raise demons to harm the people. The speaker is a young man wearing a sword robe. He stepped on a long sword shrouded in immortal aura and roared towards him. Immortals come to the cloud country, to save lives. For a moment, countless people knelt down in tears and mournful cries. That's because, both inside and outside the imperial city, there are groups of snakes biting and injuring people at this moment. At least tens of thousands of people have been poisoned by snakes and died on the spot. The whole city is flowing with blood. Sword Immortal. Among the group of snakes, there is a young man in a dragon-patterned white robe, fighting fiercely against a snake demon. He is the young ruler of the Yun Kingdom, Yun Xiao. Today is the day when Yun Xiao was crowned as the Empress. On such an important day, strange things kept happening early in the morning. First, the daughter of the soon-to-be crowned Prime Minister, Jiang Yu, disappeared without reason. Then, millions of venomous snakes surged from various waterways in the imperial city to attack the people, including a ferocious centenary snake demon. Yun Xiao immediately personally led the imperial city guard and fought against snake demons and snake herds. Seeing the snake demon dying, how could a sword fairy come? No. He just publicly announced that I raise demons and harm people. Yun Xiao suddenly feels extremely unjustified. Puff. At this moment, a sword light suddenly fell from the sky. The sword light was cold and piercing through the head of the snake demon on the spot. The snake demon immediately shattered its flesh and blood, splashing all over Yun Xiao's body with snake blood. So strong. This divine power has made Yun Xiao's heart and soul tremble, and has also earned the admiration of the officials and people of the Yun Kingdom. The snake demon is subdued and executed, and all people are saved. Immortal merit is immeasurable. The rescued people immediately knelt down with a crash and kowtowed devoutly. Cloud. Xiao. 2 angry thunderbolts exploded in my ears. I don't know when that sword immortal actually descended on Yun Xiao's head. His eyebrows were cold and erect, and his sword energy surged under his feet. Just as the sword wind blew onto Yun Xiao's body, there were bloody sword marks. As the ruler of a country, raising demons and harming others should be punished. The sword immortal scrutinized him with a burning gaze and shouted sternly. What? Is this snake demon actually raised by His Majesty? Sword immortals have heavenly eyes, they have seen it with their own eyes, and there can also be falsehood. The crowd was horrified. Just now, the Prime Minister of the Yun Kingdom, Jiang Shang, who was hiding in the deep palace, jumped out and pointed at Yun Xiao's nose in anger, saying, Yun Xiao, you are so foolish. The people regard you as their ruler, yet you are ignorant and have harmed tens of thousands of people. Jiang Shang immediately knelt down and cried, the late emperor. Jiang Shang's guidance was ineffective, causing this young ruler Hu to act recklessly and make a big mistake. Jiang Shang is also guilty. For a moment, Yun Xiao pointed out. Boom. 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 He was hit hard in the heart with 3 punches. Sword Immortal. Yun Xiao gritted his teeth and said loudly, "Please allow me to prove my innocence. I have nothing to do with this snake demon." Before he could finish speaking, the Sword Immortal sneered and said, "Shut up. My hands and eyes are open to the heavens, and your evil deeds can be witnessed by heaven and earth, and all people can witness them together. You don't need to argue. Today, I will act on behalf of heaven and send you to hell." Buzz. Yun Xiao took a step back. His eyes were bloodshot as he looked at the Sword Immortal in disbelief. He understands. What's so cunning? You can only deceive the people. You're just a sword cultivator, and this snake demon must have been released by you. I don't know you at all. As a cultivator, how could you design such a vicious plan to harm me? If you send it back to your sect, you will be punished by the sect rules. As a ruler, Yun Xiao's knowledge is naturally different from that of the people. The people only consider themselves as gods to wield swords, blindly trusting and worshipping them, and contributing incense. But Yun Xiao knew that these people, to be more precise, were just a group of cultivators. Yun Xiao, stop talking. You are crazy, how dare you speak wildly and blaspheme the gods? Born as a human, yet disrespectful to ghosts and gods, what a disaster for our Yun kingdom. The officials and the people suddenly became furious and shouted loudly. Upon seeing this, the sword cultivator flew down to Yun Xiao's eyes and looked at him with contemptuous and mocking eyes. He whispered, "Did you hear the call of the masses? I'll tell you. For you, a mortal insect like you, I, Yi Guiying, am an immortal." As the words fell, he used his fingers as a sword and his gaze turned cold, suddenly piercing into Yun Xiao's brow. He really wants to kill Yun Xiao. Sword Immortal, wait a moment. At that moment, a female voice sounded and everyone quickly looked over. A woman in a white dress with jade skin and delicate figure walked in lotus steps. It is the daughter of the Prime Minister, Jiang Yu. She was supposed to enter the palace today as a queen, but her mother was in heaven, but she disappeared in the early morning. Yue, don't come over. Yun Xiao quickly shouted. Yun Xiao has been studying and practicing martial arts with her since childhood, and they are childhood sweethearts. Naturally, they do not want her to be implicated. Today, it's the cultivator who wants to kill him. Jiang Yu is an ordinary woman, how could she save herself? As soon as Yun Xiao finished speaking, he never expected that Jiang Yu would pass him with an indifferent expression and stand next to Yi Guiying. A man and a woman obviously knew each other long ago. You guys. Yun Xiao was stunned. Yun Xiao, you misunderstood. I didn't want to save you. Jiang Yu looked very unfamiliar at the moment, with a deep coldness in her eyes. On the contrary, the person who wants you to die today is me. Do you want me to die? Yun Xiaoru was struck by lightning. That's right. Why? Yun Xiao gritted his teeth tightly, with flames rising in his eyes. He is not disrespectful to both Jiang and her. Because of it. As Jiang Yu spoke, she extended her right hand, and the sword energy in her palm roared. A 3-inch-long silver fluorescent sword suddenly condensed. The flickering sword is full of moonlight, shrouded in cold mist, and its divine power is terrifying. Its appearance caused a sudden drop in temperature in the palace, leaving everyone cold. Sword Spirit. Yun Xiao's pupils shrank. Jiang Yu smiled in surprise and said, "You, the mortal ruler, are quite knowledgeable." That's right, I have indeed awakened the Ice Moon Sword Spirit and ranked at the Kaiyang level. Born Sword Spirit. Yun Xiao has heard of it, and even longed for it. A cultivator cultivates 1 realm and 2 sword spirit, with the sword spirit carrying its own power and forming a dual power structure, with the cultivator's elixir field. Dantian is the foundation, sword spirit is the weapon. As the saying goes, sword spirit is born, 10,000 paths open. Once Jiang Yu's sword spirit is unleashed, she will naturally soar to the sky with one step. For this reason, she was obsessed with looking at the Ice Moon sword spirit in her hand and said with a cold and proud expression, "Senior brother Yi will soon take me to the Green Soul Sword Sect to learn Taoism. From now on, I will be an immortal, you will be immortal, and we will be different from each other in terms of status. From now on, as an ordinary person like you, when you see me, you must kowtow 3 times and bow 9 times." After she finished speaking, she glanced at the lonely figure of Yi, her eyes filled with expectations for the future path of immortality. "No, you have a serious illness, right?" Yun Xiao's eyes were filled with thunder and anger. "You have the talent to cultivate, just go away. I don't lack women. Even if you have personal grudges against me, you can destroy me. Why bother burying tens of thousands of people in the imperial city?" As a ruler, all the people died from the snake disaster, which made him feel heartbroken and filled with anger. "It's necessary." Jiang Yu pointed to the distant Prime Minister, Jiang Shang, and said, "Senior brother Yi said that disciples born into an imperial family will have resources tilted towards the sect. So, I want my father to become the ruler of the Yun kingdom and my Jiang family to become an imperial family from now on. In this way, not only will I want you to die, but I will also ruin your reputation. To break down one's reputation is to change one's dynasty." Jiang Shang ascended to the throne and proclaimed herself emperor. She is the princess. A princess will be popular in the Immortal Gate, but the queen will not. When Jiang Yu said this, her whole face was icy cold to the bone. She is not afraid of Yun Xiao's loud voice at all. Yi Gaiying comes from the Immortal sect, and with just a little trick, their conversation can be completely silenced. It's not easy for a cultivator to kill or stink up a mortal ruler. Yun Xiao, from now on, the land under your feet will be renamed as the Kingdom of Jiang, under the protection of the Qinghun Sword Sect. Your Yun family's 500-year rule will come to an end, and from now on, with me, the Immortal, sitting in the Kingdom of Jiang, the country will surely prosper for generations. Your fate is too low, accept it." Jiang Yu held her arms and her face became even more indifferent. Before entering the path of immortality, she already had the inviolable and aloof posture of Yi Gaiying. Yun Xiao laughed back angrily and said, "Immortals sit still. Even you cunning and vicious little people deserve to be called immortals." I laughed, "You're just an ordinary insect, and you're worthy of discussing with me what immortality is." Yi Gaiying sneered. "Senior brother Yi, talking too much is useless. Please take him on his way." Jiang Yu said coldly. Yun Xiao's eyes were blood-stained, filled with deep contempt. "I, Yun Xiao, have no chance of becoming an immortal in this life, but you are a cunning villain and a cold and despicable person. If you only cultivate one more path and have more resources, you will bully others and poison the people. Only you 2 inferior people will die tragically on the path of cultivation in the future. I only hate that I cannot personally behead you in this life to pay tribute to the people of our Yun country. You shut up." Yi Gaiying was furious, and curses were the most taboo on the path of cultivation. His face was sinister and he said angrily, "The great way is facing the sky, and you are just a dust. You deserve to talk about the immortal way in vain. Mayflies live and die day and night, yet they can still soar to the sky and see. My 7-foot body stands upright in heaven and earth. How can I not comprehend the immortal way?" Yun Xiao laughed coldly. "Then you say, what is immortality? You teach me." Yi Gaiying sneered in a loud voice. Yun Xiao held a long sword and stepped on the bones of a snake demon. His gaze was like a torch, and his heart was like a volcanic eruption. To establish one's destiny for the people, to establish one's heart for heaven and earth, is to be immortal. He gritted his teeth to death. He knew very well that he was not a match for Yi Gaiying. But at this moment, he held his sword and stared at Yi Gaiying, stepping on the snake corpse and killing Yi Gaiying. Slaying demons and eliminating demons, bringing blessings to the people, and protecting the way with peace and tranquility, are truly immortals. After Yun Xiao finished speaking this sentence, his whole body erupted, and his sword's shadow roared like 1,000 waves. Buzz! For a moment, everyone exclaimed in surprise. Ha! Yi Gaiying never expected that under her own suppression, this mortal would dare to fight against the immortal gods. I'll tell you. I'll kill you with one sword, that's what makes you immortal. Facing Yun Xiao, Yi Gaiying only moved one finger, and the sword spirit suddenly flashed through Yun Xiao's eyebrows. Puzzy. Yun Xiao held his sword and came to a sudden stop. He stands dead. Until the blood flowed down from behind his head, his eyes remained fixed on the two people in front of him. Anger in one's eyes is like a curse that never fades away. Hee, do you think you, Yun Xiao, are the protagonist and will never die at the beginning? Don't deceive the young man into being poor. Yi Gaiying sneered. However, the look in Yun Xiao's eyes after his death still made him dare not look directly. Afterwards, he and Jiang Yu left in a high-profile manner. Yunguo undergoes dynastic changes. Jiang Shang ascends to the throne as emperor, and Yun Xiao remains infamous for thousands of years. What is immortality? What is Xianlu? After that sword pierced through his head, Yun Xiao asked himself 10,000 times and also asked this world. When a person dies, their soul never dies. Disagree. He doesn't agree. He is Yun Xiao, without anyone to guide him. At the age of 6, he cultivates martial arts, at the age of 8, he connects the meridians, at the age of 12, he sweeps the martial arts path of the Yun kingdom, and at 15, he is invincible to mortals. The world he can compete in is just so big. Yi Gaiying. He was born in a higher world, and such a person of character could make Yun Xiao's blood boil and all go to waste. If given the opportunity, let me live another life. I will do everything I can to climb the path of immortality. When a person dies, their thoughts become stronger and stronger, gathering their soul and flying across the sky. Where am I going? The soul is shattered, wandering in the void, and in his eyes, the whole world seems to be shrinking. Suddenly. That's. Yun Xiao turned around and saw a stunning scene. In his eyes, the land of China where he had lived for 16 years looked like an endless tomb from afar. Endless rivers and mountains, thousands of mortal countries, blessed caves and places, high mountains and deep abyss. Are all burial grounds. Trillions of living people have been thriving on this grave for generations. The giant tombstone in the middle of the tomb, shrouded in fairy mist, towering billions of feet, like a pillar of heaven, supporting the heavens and the earth. What makes Yun Xiao's scalp tingle the most is. Under that tomb, there is a huge ancient bronze coffin. The giant coffin floats in the starry sky, supporting the earth of China as a tomb. It is as vast as the vast expanse of heaven and earth, forever illuminating the heavens and earth, and exuding a demonic aura. The world is a tomb, an ancient bronze coffin. Is this a dream after a person's death? Yun Xiao's hair stood on end. He didn't even notice that his soul was descending from the sky, escaping underground, being swallowed by a terrifying force, and crashing into this ancient bronze coffin. Boom! 2 ears roar. At the moment of being buried in the coffin, a magnificent sound from eternity echoed in Yun Xiao's ear. This coffin is used to bury the heavens and control the prison, refine the souls of immortals for centuries, and swallow tens of thousands of extremely immortal courtyards. The coffin is born into millions of realms in the human world, and only one side of the creation immortal is cultivated. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Ancient Bronze Coffin, Sword Soul Buried in Heaven. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. Ancient Bronze Coffin, Sword Soul Buried in Heaven. The Immortal of Creation. At the moment when Yun Xiao suffocated, his soul fled into the coffin, shrouded in black mist everywhere, as if entering the underworld. "My head is full," Yun Xiao exclaimed in shock. Before his eyes, a huge and boundless humanoid corpse appeared. How big? The corpse has eyes like the underworld, a mouth like a spring, hair like a dragon, and a body like a million mountains. What kind of immortal is this, who sleeps here forever? Before he could react, the immortal corpse generated suction and dragged his soul into his body. Buzz. At the moment he entered this immortal corpse, the feeling of being alive reappeared. I borrowed a corpse to resurrect my soul. Yun Xiao suddenly opened his eyes. This vast immortal body has made the whole world smaller. However, so this giant immortal corpse is just a human skin. Yun Xiao was dumbfounded on the spot. He has no bones, blood, meat, or internal organs inside his body. Under the fairy skin, everything is empty. What fills this fairy skin is countless magic mist. The magic mist condensed into various ancient and ferocious insects, venomous snakes, ghostly shadows, and demons. They roamed and bit within the immortal corpse, emitting mournful cries and howls, making Yun Xiao's scalp tingle. Is it these ancient coffin worms and snake venoms that have eaten this immortal corpse to the point where only one skin remains? Damn it. Then I'll borrow immortal corpses to revive my soul and use them as eggs. Just as Yun Xiao finished reading this, the immortal corpse with only human skin suddenly shook, and endless shimmering runes surged on its skin. Zheng zheng. These awe-inspiring symbols are like millions of immortal soldiers galloping on this fairy skin. In a daze, Yun Xiao heard eternal cries. Creation immortal, cruel and unruly. The 6 ancestral gods sacrificed 3,000 immortal realms, burned trillions of lives' blood, and finally subdued them into the Kunlun purgatory. Afterwards, there were still many angry shouts, but Yun Xiao was already deafening and couldn't hear clearly. He only felt anger. The raging anger from this immortal corpse. I bear the coffin, create heaven and earth, create 6 paths, and create the world. On the day of my success, the demons of snakes and insects will divide me and eat me. Finally, Yun Xiao heard a cold and deep smile. The day when the heavenly pillar of Shenzhou disappears is the time when the immortal of creation is recast. You despicable beasts from all 6 directions will never be able to recover. As soon as this sound fell, the boundless immortal corpse shone with a blazing light, illuminating the entire copper coffin. My body is shrinking. In a daze, Yun Xiao felt the fairy skin collapse and shrink. Sparkling light before my eyes. Endless immortal corpse, ultimately condensed into a light cluster with a diameter of only 8 feet. Buzz. A new body, similar in height and physique to Yun Xiao's before his death, but completely different in appearance, was born in this radiance. This new body has a skin as white as jade, a sharp and angular face, a high and straight nose, bright eyes like the moon, and black hair like a waterfall, much more handsome than before. I'm Yun Xiao, really alive. Endless fairy skin, condensed into a whole body of bones, meat, blood, and 5 internal organs. Although it's not big, it's complete. He looked down at his brand new hands and feet, these slender fingers, snow-white skin. He suddenly panicked and reached down to dig. Still a man. The second one is still quite old. He breathed a sigh of relief and began to contemplate his new body. My dantian has lost its vitality. The former Yun Xiao has reached the perfect state of martial arts cultivation. And now this brand new body is more like a perfect, uncut jade. Although I need to start practicing from scratch, at least I'm still alive. Suddenly, many terrifying auras have descended. That's. He widened his eyes and once again felt a chill on his spine. At the end of the line of sight, there are 10 huge objects side by side. A coffin inside a coffin. That's right. These thick and ancient giants are the coffins within 10 coffins. A coffin, like a land. 10 small copper coffins, each in 10 different colors. Among them, the first pale copper coffin closest to Yun Xiao is engraved with 2 boundless characters. Burial to heaven. These 2 big characters seem to have been written with blue blood, and each stroke, to Yun Xiao, is a vast river. Boom boom boom. In the next moment, the pale copper coffin named, Burial Heaven, trembled with a loud roar and exploded and disappeared in front of Yun Xiao's eyes. Yun Xiao was instantly engulfed by the surging blue light. After the coffin was destroyed, a blue lotus flower was born from the coffin, staining the horizon of Qin Yun Xiao. What a big flower! Yun Xiao's heart was pounding with fear. Buzz! The blue lotus rose into the sky, and Yun Xiao felt his soul sucked out. He followed the blue lotus out of the ancient bronze coffin, flying past endless dust. My eyes suddenly brighten up. In a daze, Yun Xiao seemed to see the tombstone of the Shenzhou tomb. It is shrouded in fairy mist, supporting the sky and earth. He saw with his own eyes that the blue lotus had crashed into the tombstone, dyeing it blue. Qingnian, tombstone, 2 in 1. Transformed into a towering blue sword that connects heaven and earth. One sword, clear the sky and control the prison. Buzz! Yun Xiaohun returned to his body, feeling dizzy and disoriented. He lowered his head and saw a dazzling blue light enveloping his entire body. This jade-like new body seems to have undergone some new changes. This is... Yun Xiao extended his right palm. A 3-inch-long green fluorescent sword condensed from the palm. I have the sword spirit now. He fixed his gaze on the blue sword spirit. In the center of this sword soul, there is a blue lotus flower. It's just a flower bud. Is the green lotus buried in the small copper coffin and the giant tombstone outside related to my sword spirit? Yun Xiao's mind was blank as he looked into the distance. Inside this ancient copper coffin, there are 9 small copper coffins. What are they buried inside? The second purple towering copper coffin alone exuded an ancient and cold aura, which aroused instinctive fear from his soul. This second small copper coffin is called Jinjian. Boom boom boom. When Yun Xiao looked at it, it seemed to have an induction, emitting trembling and roaring sounds, like a ferocious ancient beast towering tens of thousands of feet, staring fixedly at Yun Xiao. Looking at you twice makes you unhappy. What are you? Yun Xiao has seen many strange things today, but he is not afraid of anything. Buzz. The purple little coffin seemed to understand his words and was extremely displeased. Boom. It suddenly moved and crashed into Yun Xiao. With its size equivalent to 100,000 mountains, come and hit a mosquito. Bye. After Yun Xiao was hit, he suddenly felt dizzy and fainted on the spot. Before falling into a coma, he had only one thought. Am I borrowing immortal corpses to resurrect, or did I have a ridiculous dream when my soul was in a state of despair? In my dream, there is a world as a tomb, ancient copper coffins, immortals of creation, blue lotus flowers and giant tombstones, and 10 mysterious small copper coffins scared. I don't know how long it has been. Yun Xiao, suddenly wake up. What caught the eye was the sky of the dark night. Starry dots. Is this the Cloud Kingdom? Near the Imperial City. The Cloud Kingdom Imperial City is right in front of us. I have really been reborn. He saw a brand new self in the nearby pool. My cultivation talent has increased tenfold. Moreover, the power of flesh and blood alone is almost the same as the power of my previous martial arts perfect realm. He attempted a punch and hit a large tree with a diameter of over 1 foot. That big tree unexpectedly fell in response to the sound. Most importantly, I also have a sword spirit. In a moment of concentration, a blue sword spirit appeared from his finger bones and appeared in his hand. Jiang Yu's Ice Moon Sword Spirit is at the Kaiyang level, so what level am I at? Yun Xiao suddenly remembered something and quickly looked north. Shenzhou Tianzhu, it's gone. In the center of the land of Shenzhou, there is a towering pillar that is said to connect with the endless immortal realm and the 9 underworld hell below, supporting countless earthly beings. Since ancient times, this divine heavenly pillar has been a forbidden area for life, with no grass growing for thousands of miles. Whoever goes will die. Once, there were cultivators who wielded swords and flew into the sky to find the end of this divine heavenly pillar, but they never returned. The entire Shenzhou, no matter in any territory, as long as you look up, you can see the Shenzhou heavenly pillar, which shows how huge it is. And at this moment, the earthquake in Shenzhou, the clouds rolling in the sky, and the towering pillar that has existed since the birth of Shenzhou, has disappeared and disappeared. Yun Xiao had just woken up when he heard the deafening cries from the other side of the imperial city. Obviously, at this moment, the entire land of China is discussing the disappearance of the heavenly pillar. That Shenzhou Tianzhu should be the tombstone I saw. So, the blue lotus of the small copper coffin and the divine heavenly pillar really make up my sword spirit together. Yun Xiao's heart trembled. It shouldn't be possible. Otherwise, how powerful should this sword spirit be? Yun Xiao didn't feel anything at the moment. The power of the sword soul in his hand was exaggerated to a certain extent. This sword spirit also looks very ordinary, of course. The power of sword spirit largely depends on one's own vitality. Yun Xiao's current dantian is empty. And he remembered that the green lotus within the sword soul was just a flower bud. It should be the initial ecology. Since it appeared from the small copper coffin of burial heaven, let's call you burial heaven sword spirit. He stood in place, looking at his sword spirit, with a profound thought in his eyes. With sword spirit, you can now practice. Who sent me back to Yunhua? He felt something in his heart and looked down. Under my feet, a black bronze small square brick appeared. Yun Xiao picked it up and took a closer look. This is the ancient copper coffin, shrunk so small. There are also 9 coffins inside, aren't they smaller? I can return to Yunhua, probably related to this coffin. The copper coffin is gone, and the land of China has not collapsed. It's really amazing. He was too lazy to think much and directly carried the bronze small square brick into his arms. This brick is so hard, it's also a handy weapon. He didn't notice that there seemed to be 2 dark eyes on the lid of the copper coffin, and suddenly blinked. Who? Yun Xiaoyao gazed at the night sky for a long time before his heart completely calmed down. After peace. What comes to mind is naturally the deep-seated hatred of one's own wrongful death. Yi Gaiying, Jiang Yu, I Yun Xiao will live a lifetime and take your dog's life. Yun Xiao's gaze gradually grew cold and turned towards the imperial city. You 2 scumbags, return to the Qinghun sword sect and leave the Jiang family to seize our country, right? At night, he stood on the city wall, looking towards the direction of the palace. The lights over there are bright and festive. The new emperor ascends to the throne. The Jiang family emerged as immortals, subdued the whole country, and drifted to the sky. Thousands of people's corpses and blood have not dried up, but your Jiang family is stepping on the bones of the people to celebrate the founding of the Jiang kingdom. Yun Xiao's deep eyes suddenly burst out with a killing intent that belonged to the deep bloodline of his body. Jiang Shang, your prime minister proclaimed himself emperor. Are you comfortable sitting on the dragon chair? Yun Xiao held his sword spirit, one by one, and directly entered the imperial city. Within the imperial city, Jiang Yu's parents, uncles, brothers and sisters are getting together. There are a total of 33 people in one door. A thriving population. After Jiang Shan ascended the throne, he held another celebration banquet. He transformed from a prime minister to a ruler of the state of Jiang, at a time when he was full of energy. The disappearance of the Shenzhou heavenly pillar is truly a legendary story. They had been discussing this matter for a long time. Now, after 3 rounds of drinking, Jiang Shang, dressed in a dragon robe, blushed and stood up, saying, "From today on, our Jiang royal family will sit firmly in the mountains and rivers, with my daughter becoming an immortal and all the countries around us serving as servants. We can raise our troops and expand our territory." "Yes. Yun Xiao can't do it, let's do it. We have a long history." Jiang Yu's uncle Jiang Huai said. "It's ridiculous that the late emperor of the previous dynasty only married 1 wife and had 1 child, and the couple passed away early, leaving Yun Xiao alone. This way of inheriting the royal family's bloodline is just waiting for people to kill the extinct family, isn't it?" Jiang Shang laughed. "Father is mighty." Everyone laughed. Bang! At that moment, a young man in a white robe jumped off the courtyard wall. "Who?" The laughter of the Jiang family came to an abrupt end. "Guard!" Jiang Yu's older brother, Jiang Yang, suddenly stood up and drew his sword. "There are assassins." The courtyard suddenly became chaotic. However, Jiang Shang and his group sat steadily, their faces unchanged, and continued to chat and laugh. "Which former member of the Yun family is this? At this moment, are there any fools coming to die?" After chatting and laughing a few words, Yun Xiao had already killed in front of them, but the guards outside had not yet appeared. These people just realized that something was wrong. The guards outside have already laid down. However, they didn't panic either. After all, the Jiang family dared to become the imperial family, with countless martial arts masters, including Jiang Shang himself, who was the 2nd highest master in the Yun kingdom, second only to Yun Xiao. "Jiang Yang, take down this traitor." Jiang Shang shouted with a cold expression. "Don't kill him yet, investigate his identity, and execute his 9 clans." Jiang Yu's mother said coldly. "This is to deter the whole country by killing chickens and warning monkeys." "Yes." Jiang Yang looked at Yun Xiao and sneered, "Isn't it good to be alive? You have to seek death. Here, I'll give you 3 moves first." As soon as Jiang Yang finished speaking, a white shadow had already shot before his eyes. Yun Xiao has already taken action. Click. His right hand was as fast as thunder, and he punched Jiang Yang in the ribs. Jiang Yang's rib was broken, stabbed into his internal organs, and his right rib sank directly into a fist print. Ah! He had bulging eyes, spewed out a mouthful of blood, and collapsed softly at Yun Xiao's feet. "You sneak attack. Don't talk about martial arts." Jiang Yang twitched and died on the spot. He died tragically at the peak of his life, his eyes filled with astonishment. Ding! Yun Xiao didn't even glance at him before taking the long sword from his hand. He was the first to go to Huangquan Road. Who's next? His eyes swept across the Jiang family in front of him, and the sneer of Sun suddenly made everyone present stand up, their hearts trembling. Yang. The newly established crown prince died with just 1 move. Jiang Shang, Jiang Mu, and others suddenly burst into tears. A celebratory family banquet, blood splattered on the spot. "Kill this person." Jiang Shang smashed his wine glass onto the ground and roared angrily. The Jiang family is a warrior. At this moment, regardless of gender, everyone drew out their weapons and surrounded Yun Xiao. Some are preparing to take action, while others are loudly calling out to the guards. A family of 30.3, quite neat. Yun Xiao sneered and directly entered the crowd, hands rise and swords fall, like a white ghostly killing spirit. Poo 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 poo. The direction of the long sword pierces through the throat. Including Jiang Huai, there was a blood hole in his throat. Ah! Upon seeing that even Jiang Huai, the former general of the Yun kingdom, had been killed with a sword, the Jiang family members were immediately panicked and screamed in agony. It was not until then that they were startled and changed color. "Let's go." Jiang Shanghu's eyes widened and he said to Yun Xiao, "What kind of expert are you? Do you know that my daughter Jiangyu is a green soul sword immortal? If she knew about your ferocious behavior, your 10 lives wouldn't be enough to die. I know, I killed her whole family. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Kill the Green Soul Sword Sect. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. Kill the Green Soul Sword Sect. Kill her whole family. Yun Xiao's words have already made the remaining 30 or so members of the Jiang family's scalp tingle. Escape. Before Jiang could wait for the guards, he let out a roar of fear in his heart, and he himself turned and fled in fear. Ah! Ah! Jiang's men, women, old and young, each with weak legs, rolling and crawling, just now they were trampling on the bones of tens of thousands of people and reveling. Now their souls are scattered and they are crying in agony. No matter how fast they run, the sword of the young man behind them can always reach like a ghost in an instant. Puff! A sword pierced into the back of my heart, and in an instant, it pierced through my chest. Air. Jiang Yu's uncles, brothers and sisters fell to the ground one by one in the process of escaping, vomited blood and pulled up their bodies, and died on the spot. Third brother. Quaner. Jiang Shang turned around and saw that he had just wanted to inherit the Jiang royal family for thousands of generations, and in the blink of an eye, only their husband and wife were left dead. You block it. I'll go find you heir. Jiang Shang, feeling anxious, pushed his wife with hair tied up towards Yun Xiao who was chasing him. However, before he could take 2 steps, he was shocked to see his wife's head flying in front of him. Jiang Shang's heart trembled uncontrollably, his face turning pale as earth. Puff. Jiang Shang turned around and knelt down on the ground, kowtowing and crying, "Your Highness, be kind. If you leave me with a dog's life, I will give all the wealth of Jiang Kingdom to you." As soon as the words fell, the sword mercilessly struck, breaking Jiang Shang's tendons and legs in an instant, causing him to scream and collapse to the ground. Who? Yun Xiao grabbed Jiang Shang's neck and lifted the Prime Minister wearing a dragon robe. Jiang Shang met his gaze and his hair stood on end. Jiang Shang, does your daughter have a sword spirit? Look, what is this? A blue sword spirit condensed from Yun Xiao's right hand. Sword spirit. You are a sword immortal genius with sword spirit. Jiang Shang was even more desperate, and he cried sorrowfully, Why? Why? How did my Jiang family offend you? You want to destroy my entire family. You're wearing my dragon robe, don't you know me? Yun Xiao said. Dragon robe. Are you? Yun Xiao. It's impossible, you don't look like this. Jiang Shang suddenly dilated his pupils, as if seeing the greatest terror in the world. I borrowed the immortal corpse to resurrect, do you believe me? Yun Xiao sneered. Rebirth. Jiang Shang looked miserable, bleeding from his 7 orifices and his tongue trembling. He believed it. This young man in white is truly the Cloud Kingdom ruler who died during the day. Today, let's test the power of my sword spirit with you. Yun Xiao looked indifferent and pinched the blue sword spirit, piercing into Jiang Shang's flesh and blood half an inch. ZZ. He found that the flesh and blood on Jiang Shang's neck had turned into waves of blood mist, being swallowed and sucked by the blue sword spirit, directly rotting into a big mess. This burial of the heavenly sword soul may seem ordinary and lush, but it is actually the ultimate power of death. Its existence is to plunder all vitality. Whether it's animals or plants, there's only a dead end in front of it. This is clearly consistent with the rumored Shenzhou heavenly pillar, where strangers should not approach. Yun Xiao, even if you die and be reborn, my daughter has a sword spirit and will destroy you again. Jiang Shang screamed in pain, as if falling into the hell of death, his hands and feet trembling and struggling, with a suffocating fear in his voice. Destroy me. Yun Xiao leaned in his ear and smiled coldly, saying, after killing you, I will go to the Green Soul Sword sect and give everything you have endured today to her Nigaing. Puzzy. Burial of the Heavenly Sword Soul, completely piercing into Jiang Shang's throat. Zzz. Jiang Shang was in a pitiful scream, his flesh and blood rotting all over. He was crazily absorbed by the spirit of the buried heavenly sword and eventually turned into a thick black mist, which suddenly dissipated in Yun Xiao's hands. From then on, the Jiang family became extinct. Cloud Country. Standing on the walls of the imperial city, Yun Xiao looked at the city that his ancestors had built for 500 years. Today, although he destroyed the Jiang family, he did not intend to stay here. This land, with the protection of the Qinghun sword sect, even if the Jiang family goes bankrupt, you hardworking people should still have a stable life. During the day, you said that I did not respect ghosts and gods, which was a disaster for the Yun kingdom. I do not blame you. Your vision is limited, and as the ruler, it is my responsibility to make the people ignorant. But in the near future, I will bring back the heads of Jiang Yu and Yigaing from the Green Soul Sword sect. At that time, I will tell you that today's snake demon was not raised by Yun Xiao. I am Yun Xiao, standing tall and upright, only killing lowly people, not harming the common people. After speaking, he jumped down from the imperial city and headed north to sweep away the dust. 3 months later, Yun Xiao stood amidst the clouds, gazing ahead at the towering sect gate. Qinghun Sword Sect, here we are. This is the Immortal sect gate, standing tall on the mortal world, like a heavenly palace. He vaguely heard someone shouting ahead. Climb the heavenly road to join the Qinghun Sword Sect. Those who come should join as soon as possible. Ascending the heavenly road. On the way here, Yun Xiao had already inquired and found out that there were many tests on the road that day. Only those with exceptional talent and strength could possibly ascend to the heavenly road and become disciples of the Qinghun Sword Sect. After climbing the mountain, Yun Xiao suddenly narrowed his eyes. In the crowd undergoing the trial, he seemed to see the figure of Jiang Yu. Jiang Yu, do you also have to climb the heavenly road? Yun Xiao's eyes were cold. Do you want to rely on the Kaiyang level sword spirit to make a stunning debut on the heavenly road and enter the Qing Soul Sword sect as a Qinjiao? If he changed his body and didn't reveal it voluntarily, Jiang Yu would have to be like her father to know who he was before he died. Although I have been reborn, I have no cultivation methods. If I want to kill you and Yigaing, I will enter the Qinghun Sword sect to cultivate and ascend to the Longquan realm. Yun Xiao looked sternly at the young girl in the crowd, with a storm rolling in his eyes. However, on this journey to heaven today, I have to send you a nightmare, Jiang Yu. Jiang Yu held her arms in both hands, aloof and aloof, unaware that the nightmare that had killed her whole family was already by her side. Listen up. At this moment, a woman in a red dress swayed out. She has a skin like condensed fat, a face like peach blossoms, and a graceful figure. Although noble and elegant, in front of everyone, her face is as cold and beautiful as frost. The test rules for climbing the heavenly road are simple and fair. The first 10 people who climb the heavenly road can become Qinghun sword cultivators, and from then on, they will be free from the world. The rest of you, get lost. As the woman in the red dress spoke, her frost eyes scanned. Hundreds of martial arts geniuses in the mortal world dared not look directly under her gaze and remained silent like cicadas. You are the lucky ones that are rare in 100 years, she said again. Elder Yao, why did you say this? Asked a young boy in the crowd. He was dressed in a golden robe with many jewels hanging on it, indicating that he had a decent background. The beautiful woman saw him, and her indifferent face suddenly relaxed. She smiled softly and said, because the first 3 disciples of the Green Soul who climbed the heavenly road received a heavy reward. Among them, the 3rd place was awarded a 100-year demon bone, the 2nd place was awarded a 200-year demon bone, and the 1st place. She had a hint of envy in her eyes and raised her tone. Reward, 500 years of demon bones. As soon as the words fell, the crowd boiled. In the past, when climbing the heavenly road, there was only a reward for first place, and it was only a century-old demon bone. Why did you suddenly increase the reward? The young people's eyes were hot and they whispered. It is said that demons in the world spend their entire lives absorbing spiritual energy to forge bones. If sword cultivators refine their demon bones into the sword soul, they can condense sword gang. The level of sword spirit, such as the Kaiyang level of Jiang Yu's Ice Moon sword spirit, determines the bloodline of the sword spirit, which is extremely difficult to change and improve. And the sword spirit can be enhanced by refining demon bones. The higher the level of the sword, the harder and more fierce the sword spirit. Silence. In 15 minutes, the heavenly road will open. Elder Yao announced. Everyone couldn't help but feel nervous and their hearts were pounding uncontrollably when they heard the words. Jiang Yu, Yi Gua, you two come with me, said Elder Yao, twisting his waist lightly and turning into a maple forest. In the crowd, two people followed suit. One was the young boy in a golden robe who had just asked a question. The other one is Jiang Yu. She was wearing a snow-white sword robe today, embroidered with smoke and clouds, and her long hair was tied in a bundle, adding a touch of elegance. Under the maple tree ahead, a cold man with black hair and white eyebrows turned his back towards them. It's Yi Gaiying. Yi Jian Wang, should I arrange for your younger brother to take the top spot, or this Miss Jiang Yu? Elder Yao saw him and the frost on his face was blown away by the wind, replaced by a gentle smile. She, first. Yi Gaiying pointed to Jiang Yu. Ah. Yao Chanlao's red lips parted slightly, his face dumbfounded. That young boy, but the younger brother of Yi Gaiying, is named Yi Gua. He was born with a Sheik-light level sword spirit. At the age of 10, he started his career and at 13, he broke through the mortal martial arts realm, officially practicing martial arts. King Yi Jian took out a generous reward of 500 years of demon bone from his own pocket, but instead of giving it to his younger brother, he rewarded it to an unknown young girl. Her sword spirit is at the Kaiyang level. Yi Gaiying looked at Jiang Yu with a soft gaze. Jiang Yu met his gaze, slightly lowering her eyebrows and blushing slightly. What? Elder Yao's gaze shook as he looked at Jiang Yu, his red lips trembling slightly. Miss Jiang, with the talent of heaven, has a bright future that is enviable. In the future, we still need Elder Yao, please take care of us. Jiang Yu was very polite. Gao Shan, Feiyun, sword cultivates the sky. This is the fairyland in her dream. She's here. Today is her most important day. Under the guidance of Yi Gaiying, she practiced hard for 3 months. Just wait for today, it's amazing. Jiang Yu, my brother gave back all 500 years of demon bones to the sect in order to make you achieve fame and fortune on your journey to heaven, causing a sensation. He is really kind to you. At this moment, the young boy next to him, Yi Gua, said somewhat displeased. Shut up. Yi Gaiying glared at him. Yi Gua quickly shrank his head. Thank you very much for senior brother Ye's kindness. Jiang Yu was deeply moved. The first is to give it to her, and the second is for me to handle it steadily. You can appreciate it, Elder Yao, you don't need to make a move, Yi Gua said. Don't be too full of words. This time on the heavenly road, there were 18 people like you who opened Longquan. If you embarrass me, don't come to Qinghun for a lifetime, Yi Gaiying said in a deep voice. Got it. Yi Gua lowered his head and clenched his fists, wanting to prove himself even more. Longquan Realm. This is the first level of formal cultivation. Yi Gua's older brother took the lead in imparting Taoist techniques, and he successfully broke through the martial arts path early on, entering the Longquan realm. In the past 3 months, Jiang Yu was given resources by Yi Gaiying to enlighten and cultivate, and also entered the Longquan realm. Speaking of which, the journey to heaven is about to begin. Yi Jianwang, but you're going to the Sea of 10,000 Swords to inherit Qingyuan. Elder Yao's voice trembled slightly as he looked up at Yi Guiying. Yi Guiying nodded, with a storm in her eyes. That was his obsession that he had been longing for 20 years. If successful, the Qing Soul Sword Sect will be proud of you, Yi Guiying, for thousands of sword cultivators. Elder Yao took a deep breath, his eyes full of admiration and admiration. 20-year-old titled Sword King. In the minds of the disciples of the Qing Hun Sword Sect, Yi Guiying is like a god. We still need to climb the Sea of Swords and challenge our limits. Yao Qingqian had no choice but to kneel and lick. Prepare to climb to the sky. She returned to the crowd with Jiang Yu and Yi Guo. By the time they returned to the team, hundreds of young people outside had already been prepared. They all know that Yi Guo is a related person, so they are in awe and dare not approach, let alone provoke. After returning, Jiang Yu had a cold gaze and stood on the side. These so-called martial arts geniuses cannot enter her eyes. Suddenly, she noticed a young man behind her, dressed in white. There is such a handsome man in the world. Jiang Yu's heart twitched slightly. This young man has an outstanding demeanor. He stood in the corner, but left hundreds of people in awe. Dressed in white clothes, it seems that he is not an ordinary person. But it's the mortal immortal. Jiang Yu acted mysteriously and walked up to Yun Xiao, unable to help but ask, "What's your name?" End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Creativity. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. Creativity. Yun Xiao. The young man looked at her coldly. Shouldn't it be carefree? Jiang Yu said in a joking tone, feeling a bit nauseous. Unfortunately, that's right. Yun Xiao nodded. A good name. Jiang Yu felt like she had eaten a fly, and her mood faded as she returned to Yi Guo's side. Sure enough, there were countless people with the same name in the world. Yun Xiao borrowed the immortal corpse to revive his soul, changed his body, and she couldn't recognize him anymore. Are you interested in him? Yi Guo glanced at Yun Xiao. Don't talk nonsense. Jiang Yu said coldly. You have such poor eyesight. This person looks like a silver gun with a wax head, not even 1/10 as handsome as my brother. Yi Guo looked contemptuous. I'll just casually ask, don't compare yourself to anyone else. Jiang Yu said speechlessly. I know you licked my brother, don't be angry, I'm just joking. Yi Guo shrugged and looked at Yun Xiao again, thinking to himself. Grandpa, really handsome. He had noticed that at least 90% of the girls around him were secretly watching Yun Xiao. This beauty should only exist in the sky. How much can one smell in the world? In this world, there have always been only beautiful women who are admired for their beauty. Yun Xiao is an exception. There's no way, this is the skin bag of the god of creation. He must be a soft bone, and I'll come across him soon. I'll use my Venus sword spirit to help him understand what hardness is. Yi Guo chuckled inwardly. At this moment, Elder Yao announced that the Heavenly Ascension Road had officially begun. Hundreds of young people, passionate and eager to compete, rushed onto the path of heaven. Jiang Yu didn't say much, so she cut off the dust and went up the mountain. Yun Xiao looked up and saw that the road was shrouded in black mist and tree shadows, making it an excellent place for battle. Jiang Yu, your family of 30.3 is waving at you in the underworld. A fierce light flashed in his eyes as he chased after him. Escape into the mountains and forests. Soon, the surroundings were shrouded in mist. Yun Xiao is about to pursue someone. Suddenly, his chest seemed to be trembling with something alive. What thing? Yun Xiao was surprised. In his arms, there was only a large bronze coffin brick. Where did the living creatures come from? And it's still furry. Before he could react, an impatient, rough, and hoarse voice rang out from his arms. Ah Dao, the baby needs to drink grandma. Baby. Drink grandma. Yun Xiao quickly dug into his chest. He grabbed a soft object and pulled it out. What? This is actually a little beast. It is covered in black fur, like a cat not a cat, like a dog not a dog, with 2 small horns on its head, and a pair of bright blue eyes shining like the starry sky. What kind of thing? Yun Xiao grabbed its back neck. I'm your big dad. The little black beast's paws kicked wildly, staring at Yun Xiao. It has a milky voice, but its words are very arrogant. Not right. Yun Xiao clearly remembers the rough and hoarse voice of the sentence, baby needs to drink milk, just now. The little beast in front of me is bleeding. At this moment, the little black beast lowered its head and shouted at its chest, Red Moon, come out. Red Moon. Yun Xiao looked at its chest. A terrifying scene appeared. Tear it off. The chest of this little black beast suddenly opened with a bloody mouth full of sharp teeth. There is also a pair of crimson eyes in the hair. Ah Dao, the baby is your second father. A long tongue full of thorns sprang out of my bloody mouth. Damn it. Yun Xiao stood still on the spot. That's the rough sound. The one who said the baby wants to drink milk. A beast with 2 faces. One on the head. One in the chest. The face on his head, with deep blue eyes, is very cute, speaks arrogantly, and calls himself lousy. The chest, with its bloodshot mouth and crimson eyes, is large and fierce, claiming to be a baby. What the hell? Are you still the eldest and second fathers? Before he could recover, the big eyes on the small beast's chest lit up and rushed towards him. Milk. Get lost, I'm a man, I don't have milk. Yun Xiao quickly held it down. Just kidding. Even if it's a man, being bitten by this bloody mouth would result in chest bleeding. It's called Red Moon, and you. Yun Xiao stared at the head of the little black beast. Blue Star, said the face on its head. Its eyes are like a clear blue sea of stars, probably the origin of the name, Blue Star. And the small beast's chest, with its large and bloody mouth, resembles a red crescent moon, hence the name, Red Moon. In short, do the 2 consciousnesses control one body? Yun Xiao suddenly felt in his heart. Actually, just understand them as 2-headed beasts. So, you're the copper coffin. You're the lid, it's the body. Yun Xiao asked in shock. I can't tell, do you still have some intelligence? Blue Star chuckled. Yun Xiao looked at them and couldn't imagine that the ancient bronze coffin that held up the vast world had become the little black beast in front of him. Why do you call me, Dao? Yun Xiao asked in confusion. Ah Dao, it's the creation immortal, it's you. Blue Star's deep blue eyes scrutinized him. Yes, lucky fairy, click, click. Red Moon couldn't find any milk and could only squat and eat tree roots to satisfy her craving. What is the fairy of creation? Yun Xiao asked again. The person who feeds the baby. Red Moon answered with her cheeks bulging. Don't interrupt. Blue Star reached out his pink beast paw and patted his bloody big eyes on his chest, then shouted to Yun Xiao, Ah Dao, let's go and catch the creation seed. The seed of creation. Yun Xiao said he had never heard of it. After your rebirth, have you forgotten all your memories from your past life? Blue Star stared and asked. I forgot. Yun Xiao knows that he is not reincarnated. He is an ordinary person, and his soul after death relies on an incomprehensible ancient immortal corpse to borrow the corpse to resurrect. In your past life, you were cursed by 6 despicable beasts. Blue Star gritted his teeth. The ancestral gods of the 6 directions. Yun Xiao remembered the earth-shaking announcements he made when he borrowed his body to revive his soul. Creating immortals, violent and unrighteous. That's right. It's these 6 despicable beasts who have exhausted everything after creation and entered a dormant period, pushing you into Kunlun purgatory. With 10,000 layers of purgatory immortal fire, they will refine your entire body's creation blood, bones, flesh, elixir, and soul into a creation rain, scattering countless immortal realms and human beings in the Tao realm. They 6, bathed in the rain of nature, will divide you and eat them. Smoke in the eyes of blue stars. What do I rely on? That's really unfortunate. Yun Xiao said, dumbfounded. Are you stupid? Blue Star stared at him speechlessly. Ah Tao, you are the immortal of creation, and the miserable person is you. Hee hee. Red Moon opened her mouth wide and burst into laughter. Yun Xiao was stunned. He wants to say, I'm just borrowing immortal corpses and returning a soul, ah Tao. What I'm going to say next is the most important thing. Blue Star stared at him intently. You say, Yun Xiao nodded. You need to recast the creation immortal and kill back to the Kunlun purgatory. With only human skin left, can we remake it? Yun Xiao's heart was shaken. Speaking of this, he became enthusiastic. He wants to live well. Of course it can. Just search for the creation seed and reclaim your Tao body, Blue Star said coldly. Nature's seed. You have created a divine body that has been calcined by the Kunlun purgatory for billions of years, casting an endless rain of creation throughout the entire Tao realm. Those who have absorbed the rain of creation and awakened various bone, blood, flesh, soul, and elixir talents are all creatures of creation. These creatures are equivalent to participating in the division of corpses and the creation of immortals along with the 6 ancestral gods. Blue Star hates the way. A god of creation, burning the rain of creation for 100 million years. This is too harsh. Even the mortal beings, drenched in the rain, have received a cup of soup. Yun Xiao suddenly remembered. There is indeed a legend of immortal rain in this land of China. It is said that in history, countless people were lucky enough to be drenched in the rain of immortals and awakened to many divine talents. Even in just one day, from waste to genius. So these lucky ones are all creatures of nature. It can be seen that the flourishing creation of immortals is so terrifying. Yun Xiao couldn't help but ask, can I gradually fill in this person's skin by reclaiming the talent of the creation seed? Yes. The 6 ancestral gods, when they attacked you the hardest, they were the biggest creatures. Blue Star narrowed his eyes and said, however, you are now weak to the extreme, and can only start from the mortal creatures. Are there many varieties of nature? Yun Xiao asked. Many. Everywhere. That Yi Gua, just now, he's just a species of creation. His elixir field is golden, which can stabilize and strengthen his Longquan magic power, making him stronger than cultivators of the same realm. This is the kind of creation that inherits the Dan talent of the creation immortal. Bone, blood, soul, flesh, pill. Among them, Dan refers to places such as acupoints and Dan fields that nourish vitality and magic. There is also the creation of bones, blood, and so on. Yi Gua is a kind of creation. Yun Xiao was surprised. Not only that, but his older brother Yi Gaiying has 2 power structures in the elixir field, which is the twin elixir field. His magical power is twice that of cultivators in the same realm. His innate talent for creating and transforming is much higher than his younger brother. Ah Tao, if you want to recast the immortal, you can only start from the Dantian. Their brothers are extremely crucial to your rise. Don't be fooled by the fact that you used to be a creator immortal, now you are a disabled person at the bottom of the Tao realm. Essentially, he is a fairy skin. Upon hearing Blue Star say this, Yun Xiao's eyes became scorching. Golden Dantian. Twin Dantian. All the talents of creation and cultivation originate from a rain of creation that has been scattered throughout generations in the endless mortal realm of the Tao realm. At the end of the seed of creation is the 6 ancestral gods. This road to heaven requires stepping on them all the way in order to recast the immortals of creation, is Yigaing a stronger species of creation. Yun Xiao's eyes showed a deep coldness. The 6 directions ancestor god is too ethereal, he has no concept, but when it comes to Yigaing, he suddenly catches fire. Do you understand? Lan Zhou looked at him with a hopeful expression. Understood. Yun Xiao nodded. Someone once wanted to teach me about the immortal road. I came to the Qinghun sword sect to behead him. Therefore, I crave strength more than you imagine. But one thing, I must explain to you clearly. You say. Blue Star looked up. I'm not Ah Dao. My name is Yun Xiao. He stared into Blue Star's eyes. He is just a lucky person who inexplicably borrows immortal corpses to resurrect and die. It's okay. Blue Star grinned. I said you are. Yun Xiao. Silence for a moment. Ah Dao. Blue Star suddenly shouted loudly, his eyes trembling lightly. Billions of years have passed, the sea has changed, and things have changed. I miss you, it said, tears welling up in its crystal clear eyes. Me too. Red Moon cried and howled, her big mouth still clattering at the stones. Yun Xiaoguaner. For some reason, even though it was his first time seeing them, his heart was filled with genuine emotions. Just as she was about to say something affectionate, Chiwa suddenly became excited. It shouted loudly, there's milk ahead. Ah Dao, go quickly. Yun Xiao heard it, there was indeed movement. He walked through a desolate maple forest and walked forward quickly. It is late autumn, with fallen leaves everywhere. Yun Xiao, look forward, a woman in green clothes knelt in fear among the maple leaves, her body trembling. His long pants were torn, and there was a bone-deep sword wound on his jade leg, bleeding profusely. In front of the girl stood a young man in a golden robe. The young man in the golden robe had a playful and proud expression on his face. Yi Gua, let me go. The woman cried in sorrow. Let you go? How could a hungry wolf let go of a little white rabbit? Yi Gua gave a fierce smile and immediately rushed over. No way. This is the path to the sky. The woman in green looked fearful and wept bitterly. However, she had bloodstains on her body, and the excruciating pain was so intense that she couldn't resist this wild little beast at all. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Sword Breaks and Death. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. Sword Breaks and Death. Don't move around, otherwise I'll kill you afterwards. Yi Gua's eyes lit up as he looked at the soft and beautiful girl. Qinghun is an immortal sect, not your family. I can't tolerate you to do anything wrong, said the girl in green despair. Ha! Yi Gua chuckled and twitched. Pop! He suddenly slapped the girl in the face. The girl slammed to the ground with a loud bang, bleeding from the corner of her mouth. I still pity her when I see her. When my brother becomes the youngest leader in the history of Qinghun, this is my home. Yi Gua sneered. Just at this moment, a cold voice came from outside the maple forest. Let go of her. Who? Yi Gua trembled with fear. He suddenly came together and turned around. A young man in white appeared in front of him, standing among the maple dances, with long hair flying, his face like a crown of jade, and his eyes like a starry sky. Silver Gun Wax Head, is that you? Yi Gua was still a bit nervous, but when he saw someone, he immediately burst out laughing. Get away. Don't disturb my elegant mood, he said coldly. Don't leave, save me. The girl in green quickly wrapped her clothes tightly, covering her snow-white body, and looked at the young man in white with a charming expression. Okay, Yun Xiao nodded directly. Buzz. He walked towards Yi Gua with an indifferent expression, stepping on the maple leaves. The flying leaves rolled around him, and sword marks appeared on the leaves. Puff. Upon seeing this, Yi Guo couldn't help but burst into laughter and said, "You wild dog, who doesn't even have Longquan magic, also wants to be a hero to save the beauty. He is already in the Longquan realm and has officially entered the path of cultivation. The magical power in the golden elixir field is surging, and his body is filled with waves of energy. He hasn't reached the Longquan realm." The woman looked at Yun Xiao with a hint of disappointment in her expression. "It's okay. I'll use your blood to boost the fun and show you both the cruelty of the immortal way," Yi Guo chuckled inwardly. Zheng. On his right hand, a golden sword spirit extended from his palm. As soon as this sword spirit emerged, the surrounding sword energy surged. Shake light level, Venus sword spirit. On this Venus sword soul, there is also a dense layer of golden surrounding sword rays. This is the number of layers of sword spirit, which can enhance the hardness of sword spirit. Yi Guo, there is a layer of sword spirit. With the addition of Longquan realm magic, he is actually considered a formal sword cultivator. This is an existence that Yun Xiao couldn't reach before. Soft bones, you are a mortal warrior. Have you ever seen the sword spirit Guiyan? Yi Guo sneered as the 3-inch Venus sword spirit in his hand, driven by magic, suddenly shrouded in clouds and mist, and the flash extended. The 3-inch sword soul transforms into a 3-foot golden long sword. Zhulongquan, after generating magical power, can perform 3 forms of sword spirit: flying sword, palm sword, and imperial sword. The flying sword is the smallest, capable of flying thousands of miles and killing people from afar. The palm sword is 3 feet long and must be held by hand for close combat. The imperial sword is the largest, capable of flying into the sky and carefree the world. At this moment, Yi Guo transformed his sword spirit into a palm sword form and fought with his sword. However, Yun Xiao's 3-inch blue sword spirit could not be transformed, and its length was only 1/10 of that of the Venus sword spirit. How to compare? Do you want to save the beauty? Then I'll cut off your limbs, cut off your tongue, and give you a VIP seat to watch the battle. Yi Guo smiled wryly. Just at this moment, Yun Xiao suddenly transformed into a white shadow and rushed towards Yi Guiying. In his hand, with a 3-inch green edge, Mori cold kills. Do you dare to take action first? Yi Guo was furious and stabbed his sword to resist. Gold and blue, with 1 large and 1 small sword spirit, suddenly pierced together in the fluttering maple leaves. Ding! A piercing sound erupted. Ah! Yi Guo's face turned pale, and he let out a painful cry. He stumbled and fell to the ground, his right hand bursting and bleeding. It was evident that his hard and indestructible Venus sword spirit had several green cracks on it. Waves of green mist poured into the crack, causing the Venus sword soul to make a cracking sound. Puff! Yi Guo's qi and blood attacked his heart, and a mouthful of hot blood sprayed onto his sword soul, all of which were absorbed by the blue crack. My sword spirit has broken. He couldn't believe it, thinking it was a dream. The sword spirit is carried on a person's bones, and now he is in excruciating pain. How could he dream? Sword cultivator, soul in body, soul holding sword. Otherwise, how can a flying sword kill people from afar? Yi Guo's cracking now is not only due to his sword spirit, but also his human spirit. If a person's soul is shattered, then they will be foolish. Since ancient times, there has been a saying. The sword spirit is shattered, and a person is half dead. Impossible, he exclaimed in shock, looking up at the young man in white holding the seemingly ordinary 3-inch blue sword spirit, looking at him expressionlessly. Yi Guo, your sword spirit is not very hard, is it? Yun Xiao lowered his head and smiled. You. Yi Guo looked at the broken Venus sword soul, his heart wrenching. So powerful. The woman looked at Yun Xiao with her eyes wide open, completely frightened. Sword cultivator, as soon as the sword spirit is killed, life and death are on either side, either win or die. Unfortunately, I won today. Yun Xiao's eyes turned cold. Sword cultivation. Between heaven and earth, the strongest group of cultivators. A true outlaw. Others fight with weapons, sword cultivators fight with their lives. If you dare to harm my sword spirit, you will definitely die. My brother is Yi Guiying. He is the title sword king of the Qinghun sword sect. The first genius of Qinghun. The future Qinghun master. Yi Guiyao's eyes were full of ferocity. Is Yi Guiying? I know him. Yun Xiao's mouth curved slightly. He grabbed Yi Guo's hair and lifted him up. Yi Guo eats pain, his hair roots are covered in blood. He was a bit confused and asked in shock, "You know him, how dare you touch me? I killed his younger brother." After Yun Xiao finished speaking, his sword spirit in his hand swung forward like a dagger. Puff. The blue sword soul swooshed past Yi Guo's neck. Ah! Yi Guo's angry expression froze, his eyes staring like eggs. The spirit of the burial heaven sword was even sharper than Yun Xiao had imagined. With this slash, Yi Guo's head was about to be taken off. Pop! The body of the young man in the golden robe fell to the ground, bleeding profusely, while his head was still being held by Yun Xiao. My brother is the Green Soul Sword King. In the last moment of losing his soul, Yi Guo finally felt a terrifying fear like mountains and seas. His magnificent path of cultivation ended before it even began. Death without closing one's eyes. Ah! I killed someone. The woman screamed as she watched this scene, her face pale with fear, like a frightened deer. The food snatcher is dead, my baby is about to start. Red Blood shouted excitedly, it has been staring at this girl for too long. Yun Xiao calmly pressed it down and then asked the woman in a soft tone, "Are you okay?" "No, it's okay." The woman's eyes trembled as she looked at Yi Guo's body. How did you kill him? If you don't kill him, his green soul will definitely double his revenge on us, Yun Xiao said. But he is the younger brother of King Yi Jian. The woman in green had a complicated expression in her eyes. Yun Xiao looked at her and slowly said, "If you don't say it, I won't say it." "Who knows?" "Okay." The woman in green lowered her head and pursed her lips. "I saved you, don't you need to thank me?" Yun Xiao asked. The woman in green froze for a moment, then squeezed out a smile and said, "Thank you. I'll handle the body first." Yun Xiao suddenly said. "Okay," the woman in green nodded obediently. Yun Xiao dragged Yi Guo's body and turned around to escape into the maple forest. Quickly, he disappeared in front of the woman in blue. After he walks away. "It's you who killed, not me. Why should I cover up the real culprit and share the fear with you?" The woman in green gritted her teeth. She endured the excruciating pain and turned to run towards the entrance of Dengtian Road. If this secret is kept for a long time, she will become an accomplice. Someone has killed Yi Jinwang's younger brother. The woman in green shouted loudly as she approached the entrance. "What's your name?" Suddenly, a cold voice came from behind. The woman in green clothes felt a chill all over her body. That young man in white appeared behind him. "Are you following me?" The woman in blue fell into an ice cave. "If I don't tell you, I'll be dead." Yun Xiao looked at her coldly, "I saved you, but you betrayed me decisively because you were worried about being implicated. Give me a chance, I will definitely keep my mouth shut in the future." The woman in blue knelt down in panic. "I can't give it." Yun Xiao's eyes turned cold. Opportunities and trust will never be missed again. Puff. Yun Xiao made a move and a sword pierced through his throat. Blood splatters. The woman widened her eyes and died in a pile of maple leaves. "You will be forcibly occupied in your next life, don't shout for help. After Yun Xiao finished speaking, he turned around and fled into the maple forest. Ah Dao, you killed my milk. I'll fight with you. Red Moon burst into tears. After a while, Yun Xiao casually threw Yi Guo's head onto the tree, grabbed his leg, and dragged his body away. By the way, Blue Star looked at Yi Guo's corpse and said, just now you had a fight with him, and I saw your sword spirit, as if devouring his sword spirit. Indeed, Yun Xiao nodded. Blue Star's gaze locked on Yi Guo. The sword spirit is in the bone, you give it a try. Okay, Yun Xiao's palm revealed the spirit of the buried heavenly sword. Puzzy. This blue sword spirit pierced into Yi Guo's palm bone. A dim and soon to dissipate golden sword spirit was truly sucked out by the burial heaven sword spirit. Buried in the center of the heavenly sword soul, the green lotus in the shape of a flower bud trembles slightly. Zzz. The shaking light-level Venus sword soul immediately disintegrated and turned into a golden mist, absorbed by the burial heaven sword soul. Terrifying. Yun Xiao was horrified. How could one's own sword spirit eat someone else's sword spirit? Just one bite. Venus sword spirit, gone. Its golden color completely dissipates. Yun Xiao felt that the spirit of the burial heaven sword had improved, and the death power on it had become even stronger. Moreover, on its surface, there is also a thin layer of green sword light. A layer of sword gang. Yun Xiao was stunned. Other sword spirits need to refine demon bones in order to possibly give birth to sword gang. It often requires 100-year-old demon. And Yun Xiao's burial heaven sword spirit can actually directly deprive others of their sword gang. Who is at the top of the food chain? It is truly the sword spirit created by burying the heavenly coffin with the divine heavenly pillar as the source of the Tao realm. Blue Star's eyes trembled and shone. The origin of the Tao realm. What is it? Yun Xiao asked. Is Shenzhou Tianzhu a source of Tao realm? Let me put it simply, the boundless world you are in called the Tao realm is derived from a source point, said Blue Star. What do you mean, Shenzhou Tianzhu is the embryo of a vast world? Yun Xiao asked. Yes. In addition to the Tao realm you created, there are still 10 source points left in chaos. Kunlun Purgatory and Shenzhou Heavenly Pillar are both one of the 10, said Blue Star. 10 Tao realm source points. So many. Yun Xiao was shocked. So, why would the divine heavenly pillar merge with the burial heavenly coffin to form my sword soul? This is something you have been researching in your previous life, but unfortunately, as soon as you found all 10 source coffins and placed them in the bodies of Mi and Chiwa, you fell asleep due to the consumption of creation. Blue Star said regretfully. 10 source coffins. This should be the 10 coffins within the ancient bronze coffin. That is to say, every source coffin and every Tao realm source point may merge and be used by me. Yun Xiao's scalp tingled. World embryo. No wonder my sword spirit lacks the terrifying power of the divine heavenly pillar. It turns out to be an embryo that needs to grow. One day, there will be the power of the world. The source coffins are all in hand, just 9 Tao realm source points are missing. Moreover, the divine heavenly pillar has achieved the sword spirit. What can other source points achieve? Is it a sword spirit or some other unimaginable thing? A burial sword soul, as a world embryo, is expected to be comparable to the entire Tao realm. Yun Xiao's heart was surging. Ah Tao, after the death of the creation seed, your talents will soon be lost. Hurry up and reclaim this golden Dan field, and you can gather Longquan, generate mana, and return to practicing sword spirit, officially becoming a sword cultivator. Blue Star reminded. This is their first step. Before Longquan realm, it was a mortal martial arts realm. The mortal martial arts realm consists of 5 levels, namely the first level soul sensation, second level meat forging, 3rd level blood burning, 4th level bone refining, and 5th level Kaiyuan. Among them, the 5th grade Kaiyuan is the perfect realm of martial arts, which is exactly the realm before Yun Xiao's death. Kaiyuan is the opening of the elixir field, the birth of vitality, and the foundation of cultivation. After the birth of the Dantian, if there is a Taoist technique, one can absorb spiritual energy and transform it into magical power, creating a Dantian Bloom's Dragon Spring. Longquan is a dragon-shaped spring water constructed by an endless stream of magical power. Each cultivator, due to their different Taoist attributes, has a different Longquan, with some being Qinglong and others being Yanlong dragon perches in the elixir field, the birth of Taoism. The meaning is that Longquan realm is the beginning of the path of cultivation. As soon as you enter Longquan, you are like a hidden dragon, hoping to fly into the sky. During the 3 months of coming to the Qing Hun Sword Sect, Yun Xiao broke through the 5 levels of mortal martial arts with a new body and returned to the 5th level Kaiyuan. With his new body and sword spirit, this is the reason why he was able to defeat Yi Guo. However, previously, Blue Star and Red Moon had not awakened, and he had not practiced the method of gathering Dragon Spring, so he could not enter the door. Now, the road to Longquan is right under our feet. Not long after. Stop. Just choose this. Blue Star squeezed out from Yun Xiao's arms, tiger-headed and tiger-brained. This valley is deep, surrounded by dense forests and uninhabited. How to deal with it? Yun Xiao asked. Watch your lousy perform, Blue Star sneered coldly. As soon as it finished speaking, the little black beast leaped out. Bang! A stunning scene happened. After it landed, black fluff and mist erupted all over its body, causing it to expand and transform into a copper coffin with a buzzing sound. That coffin is 8 feet high and several zhang long. If you look from a distance, you may think it's a square cabin. Bang! A sound of copper friction came, and the coffin lid opened on its own. Come in, be safe in the coffin. A pair of dark blue eyes emerged from the lid, staring at Yun Xiao. As soon as it finished speaking, a pair of crimson eyes grew on the coffin below, and it opened its bloodthirsty mouth and said savagely, Ah Dao, come in quickly, there's no feces in the baby's stomach. They are indeed a coffin. No need to emphasize. Yun Xiao was stunned and speechless. He didn't say much. As soon as he entered the coffin, Blue Star solemnly closed the lid. Inside the coffin, there was a dead silence and a gloomy atmosphere. Yun Xiao's eyes caught a glimpse, and there were still 9 small copper coffins left, but they were also much smaller and placed in the corner. What are you doing in a daze? Refining and creating seeds. As the coffin closed, Blue Star's eerie eyes appeared again. How to refine it? Yun Xiao threw Yi Guo down. How do I know? I'm not a god of creation. Blue Star pouted. Yun Xiao. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Killing you with only one sword. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6 Killing you with only one sword. Cloud Zhao's heart roast. I am just an ordinary person who borrows a corpse to revive his soul. How to refine it? He can only explore on his own. Close your eyes, reach out and press your palm on Yi Guo's abdomen. Zhaohua seed, golden dantian. This Dan talent is a drop of rain from heaven, absorbed by Yi Guo. It comes from the god of creation that has been calcined for billions of years. Is this a part of my natural and immortal body? Yun Xiao's expression was somewhat strange. This drop of rain. Soon after, Yun Xiao felt the presence of the rain of creation. It has integrated into Yi Guo's dantian, forming a golden mist. Come out. After Yi Guo's death, his life had disintegrated and everything was dissipating. Sure enough. This drop of merged rain of creation, pulled by Yun Xiao, reunited and flew towards Yun Xiao. Chi. Yi Guo seems to have died again. The stiff body trembled violently. When the rain of creation left his whole body was bleeding, wrinkled into a ball, completely dim. Buzz. A drop of divine rain merged into Yun Xiao's body and appeared on his dantian in an instant. The raindrops turned into mist and dispersed, like blood vessels, merging into their elixir fields, and the golden mist began to rise. It's so refreshing. Yun Xiao's eyes lit up. He clearly felt that his body was like a land of prolonged drought, blessed with rain. When the rain of creation merges into the elixir and vitality, there is a surge of immense energy throughout the body's blood vessels and limbs. Golden Dantian, success. Although it is the lowest level of creation, it can also allow you to set off from the end. Blue Star's voice was hoarse. Such a great transformation, is it just the lowest level of creation? Yun Xiao was slightly surprised. Nonsense. Blue Star's eyes disappeared from the coffin lid, replaced by 4 vast and majestic words, like the beginning of chaos and the rebirth of heaven and earth. Hunyuan Shufa. What is this? Yun Xiao felt that what he saw was not 4 words, but a magnificent universe, with countless divine mist rising and endless turbid air sinking. The sun and moon were born in it, and wind, clouds, and lightning roared. Your Dharma, Blue Star said speechlessly. Taoism. By practicing it, I can create a dragon spring in my dantian, transform my vitality into magic, and officially enter the path of cultivation. Yun Xiao asked with a burning gaze. I'm laughing to death, Blue Star sneered mercilessly. What does it mean? This is the fundamental method you use to open up chaos and derive Tao realms, but you only care about using it to bring about the birth of Dragon Spring in Dantian. Blue Star exclaimed. Yun Xiao. Using the cultivation method of creating and transforming immortals to open up the world, creating the Dragon Spring. It's a bit reserved. Blue Star laughed for a while and sighed. To be honest, Hunyuan Shufa is very famous, but it is not famous in Shenzhou, but on the highest sky. Oh. Yun Xiao said calmly. It is the first cultivation method in the Taoist realm and the signature of the Hunyuan Immortal Lord. All beings regard Hunyuan Immortal Lord as the ancestor of the immortal realm, and it is because of this ancestor god that this Hunyuan village method has evolved into a myriad of human and immortal paths, inheriting the Taoist realm. Blue Star spoke of this existence with an extreme coldness in his voice. Is Hunyuan Xian Zun one of the 6 ancestral gods? Yun Xiao frowned. That's right. He is the only ancestor of the human race among the 6 ancestral gods, known as the founder of the human immortal cultivation system, including the Longquan realm where you are currently practicing, which is the starting point of this ancestral god's path of ascension. Blue Star said and sneered twice. Its expression is very disdainful. I guess. Whether it's the Hunyuan village method or the human immortal cultivation system, the true creators are all creation immortals. Yun Xiao squinted his eyes. Of course. Besides having milk, where can the Hunyuan immortal master compare with Adolf? Exclaimed Chiwe, feeling very unhappy and licking her mouth after finishing. After listening to these, Yun Xiao can only say that the creation is truly terrifying. Unfortunately, he disappeared into thin air. And those 6 ancestral gods not only deprived him of everything, but also deprived him of the merits of creation and preaching. Ah Tao. Blue Star's voice was blazing. When you seize the talents of creation such as blood, flesh, and bone, you can unlock the systems of the 6 ancestral gods. Is it not just the mixed Yuan village method? Yun Xiao asked. Of course not only, you are the source of all paths. The Hunyuan village method only refines the elixir field, as well as blood, bone, flesh, and soul. Said Blue Star. I understand. Yun Xiao nodded. Whether it's practicing the Hunyuan village technique or anything else, if you have the opportunity to climb to the top again, you will definitely surpass the 6 ancestral gods far, said Blue Star. Are you sure? Yun Xiao asked. Of course, in terms of this Hunyuan village method, you cultivate Yang village, while Hunyuan immortal master cultivates Yin village. Yang village is above, Yin village is below. Yang village is great, and Yin village is your cauldron. Blue Star said. No, Yun Xiao recalled what Chiwa had just said about having milk, and his lips curved upwards. What do you mean, Hunyuan Shenzhuan, is she a woman? Yeah. A hot woman. Blue Star and Red Moon spoke in unison. Yun Xiao was stunned. As an ordinary person, I have the potential to become the ancestor of the human immortal path and the cauldron furnace. Thinking of this scene, his scalp tingled and he secretly said, never mind, don't have big dreams of spring and autumn. Stay grounded, Sir Longquan. Hunyuan village method. It only has 4 big characters in front of Yun Xiao. I'll lead you in first, said Blue Star crisply. On the lid of the coffin, the 4 characters, resembling a chaotic universe, fell off and entered Yun Xiao's body, transforming into turbulent waves and crashing into the elixir field. Buzzing. Even if it was just the beginning, Yun Xiao felt that this Taoist technique had undergone a transformation in the golden elixir field. Chaos has just begun. All things are born. A wisp of mixed energy generates magic, and a dragon-shaped spring gushes out in the center of the elixir field. This is Longquan. The vast spiritual energy poured into Yun Xiao's body from the copper coffin. This ancient copper coffin seems to have the effect of gathering spiritual energy. It seems that in the future, I will have to lay in the coffin and practice. Blue Star and Red Moon are companions and mobile cultivation bases. It is said that cultivators produce different Longquan due to their different constitutions and Taoist techniques. For example, Yi Gua, who gave birth to the golden dragon, had extremely powerful magic. Although Yun Xiao regained the golden elixir field, he practiced the Hunyuan Su method and gave birth to an illusory and mysterious dragon spring. It occupies the Dantian, swallows clouds and exhales mist, and its majestic aura rises to the sky. What dragon am I? Yun Xiao asked. Yuanshu dragon, exclaimed Blue Star. Yun Xiao was surprised and said, this dragon should have nothing to do with kidney deficiency, right? Nima. Blue Star said, Yuan Su Long, meaning infinite possibility. With this golden elixir field, at least you are in the early stage of the Longquan realm, but your magic is more than a star and a half stronger than that of the same realm. Really? Yun Xiao's heart warmed up. Longquan realm. Like the mortal martial realm, it is divided into 5 small weights. They are early stage, mid-stage, late stage, completion, and setting. The first 4 points are easy to understand, while the 5th point is fixing the realm, which means transcending perfection and setting the pinnacle. Longquan Dingjing will be much stronger than the first 4 stages. As for which stage of Longquan realm it is easy to determine. Dantian Longquan, 1 claw for the early stage, 2 claws for the middle stage, 3 claws for the late stage, 4 claws for perfection, and 5 claws for tranquility. Nowadays, Yun Xiao has just entered the Longquan realm, and has the 1 claw Yuan Su Longquan, which is the early stage of the Longquan realm. With magical power and sword spirit, I have become an official sword cultivator ever since. This was Yun Xiao's dream. It's just a departure, and the effect of this Yi Gu Ao golden elixir field is limited and can only be used for transition. His elder brother's twin elixir field is a very effective natural cultivation talent. If you can obtain it, you may have the opportunity to cultivate the official method of the Hunyuan market method. Blue Star's face was cold and solemn. Now, your elixir field cannot withstand any good cultivation methods. The anti-heaven method he is currently practicing cannot even be considered the official version. That means that the cultivation of other systems of the creation immortal requires a natural talent of creation to be activated, Yun Xiao thought to himself. The road ahead is vast, and the reality is difficult. The road ahead is long and arduous. Yi Gaiying. Not to mention the nature of the species. On that day, with a sword from the imperial city, it never dies or stops. By the way, do you still have combat power? Yun Xiao asked curiously. But those ancient bronze coffins. Endless. Helping you be reborn and return to the divine realm is too costly and irreversible. We have very little left, which is equivalent to being reborn, said Blue Star calmly. No wonder they slept for 3 months before waking up. But Dao, Blue Star grinned, it's still the old rule. On the road to the future, you are the one who created the world. At critical moments, we can provide you with peace of mind. So top-notch. Yun Xiao thought to himself. Nonsense, for my brother, I'll cut into my kidneys. Blue Star said arrogantly. The baby has 2 stomach knives. Red Moon said with hot blood. Undercover it. It means giving their lives to them. Cows are so scared. Yun Xiao gave them a thumbs up. Since I have lived a lifetime with you all by my side, I am Yun Xiao, and I will lay the foundation for you first. He has no relatives in this world anymore. Suddenly with them, Yun Xiao's cold heart also warmed. Who? The body of Yi Guo was completely reduced to ashes under his burial sword spirit. At the moment Yun Xiao emerged from the black copper coffin, the house-sized copper coffin instantly transformed into a small black beast and crashed into Yun Xiao's arms. Lie down. Don't bite randomly. Yun Xiao's face suddenly turned purple. Hee, the baby made a mistake, Chiwa said with a smirk as she opened her mouth wide. Yun Xiao. It's like a big guy, wearing a pink belly pocket. Yun Xiao glanced at the sky. I missed some time, I have to hurry up. He looked towards the summit. My burial heaven sword soul may be terrifying in quality, but after all, it is a primitive form. Just like the baby sword, it can also be destroyed. Therefore, increasing the level of sword spirit is extremely important. And those 500 years of demon bones, missing this opportunity, may be difficult to obtain. Yun Xiao transformed into a white illusion and fled into the dense forest. Upper section of the heavenly road. A cold woman wearing a white sword robe suddenly felt palpitations. It's Jiang Yu. She looked back. Behind me, in the maple forest, the cold wind is chilling. There seems to be a fierce demon chasing after us step by step. Cold frost surged in Jiang Yu's eyes. Senior brother Yi personally took out 500 years of demon bones, which is equivalent to giving them to me. If I make a mistake, I will definitely leave a very bad impression on him. And he said there will be an important figure on the sword undertaking platform today, it depends on my performance. This is my best opportunity to climb to the sky. Jiang Yu looked up at the peak. On the way to heaven, the person named Yun Xiao reminded her of another soul with the same name. Thinking of the soul of her hometown, Jiang Yu frowned slightly. Yun Xiao, who wants to meet you at the summit? You are immortal, only worthy to be at the bottom of the buried bones mountain, looking up at me to climb to the top of immortality. Above the smoke and clouds, there is a sword-bearing platform. There are a total of 8 stone chairs on the stage, of which 7 have elders of the Qinghun sword sect sitting upright on them. These 7 stone chairs are each engraved with the words which sword peak. For example, the seat of Elder Yao Qingqian is engraved with the 4 characters first sword peak. In addition to these 7 stone chairs, there is also a blue stone chair in the middle, which is the heaviest. But there's no one up there. In this way, it can be clearly seen that on the back of the blue stone chair, there are 2 words with a strong pen edge. Sword Pavilion. Qinghun Sword Sect, consisting of 1 sword pavilion and 7 sword peaks. Elder Yao, have you arranged everything properly? Said a middle-aged sword cultivator. He was dressed in a blue robe, with an 8-character beard and shining eyes. He couldn't help but sneak a peek at Yao Qingqian's jade legs. His name is Wu Yu, and he is the elder of the third sword peak. How much control do you use? Yao Qingqian said. She has a graceful figure, with jade legs slightly raised, a long skirt with a high opening, and a faint beauty in the gentle breeze. After all, it was arranged by King Yi Jian. I dare not slack off. Elder Wu sneered. Yao Qingqian glanced at the other elders and saw that they were all focused on looking down. He whispered, the key is on the stone path. From the perspective of the sword beacon, the most prominent one is a rocky road. This is the last section of the heavenly road. Through the stone path, climb the heavenly road and enter the green soul. No disciples have entered the stone path yet. Once someone appears, the elders can see it. Did you bury a mystery in the stone path? Elder Wu asked quietly. It's not a mystery either. Shidao was supposed to be the last test, allowing disciples to fight against demons to determine the outcome. Yao Qingqian chuckled coldly, as for me, I have put a 200-year-old blood demon inside. As long as it's not Jiang Yu or Yi Gua, whoever comes first will die first. 200 years of blood demons. Elder Wu was startled. He instinctively glanced at the other elders and then said in shock, on the stone path, there are mainly big demons who have been practicing Taoism for 100 years. 200 years are considered ferocious demons, and they are still blood demons that kill people like crazy. Isn't this not afraid of other elders' suspicion? What do you suspect? Yao Qingqian gave him a clear glance. Who dares to meddle in the affairs of the Yi Sword King? That's right, Elder Wu awkwardly smiled. Practicing Taoism, is it practicing Taoism? Practicing worldly wisdom, understand? Yao Qingqian snorted lightly, crossing his hands on his knees, exuding a delightful charm. Indeed. Elder Wu glanced at the stone path and joked, then let's see if there are any unlucky ghosts. Let's take a step into the stone path first. There shouldn't be. Yi Gua is only 13 years old, which is already amazing. And that Jiang Yu. She is a true genius, very likely the second Yi Sword King. Yao Qingqian said of the girl, with a hint of envy in his eyebrows. Envy her talent and youthfulness. The second Leaf Sword King. Elder Wu's heart skipped a beat. Yes. She has only been with Yi Jianwang for 3 months, and she has been promoted from the mortal martial realm to Longquan. By the middle of the Longquan realm, Longquan has already had 2 claws. Moreover, Yi Jianwang probably has given her many demon bones privately, and her sword spirit already has 3 layers of sword spirit. Yao Qingqian praised. After giving her the demon bone, would you also give her these 500 years of demon bone, combined with the honor of being the first on the heavenly road? It seems that the Sword King of Yi is very interested in her. Elder Wu sighed and whispered, Elder Yao, let's have a thorough understanding. What is the level of Jiang Yu's sword spirit at the Kaiyang level? Sword spirit, most do not enter the mainstream. As long as it reaches the shaking light and opening yang levels, it is subdivided into lower grade, medium grade, and upper grade. The difference between lower grade Kaiyang and upper grade Kaiyang is actually significant. Jiang Yu's Ice Moon Sword Soul, if it is a lower grade Kaiyang, can only be considered as the top of the Green Soul. But if it's top grade and sunny, that's the true peak of Qinghun. My eyes are not the Qingjian stone, how do I know? Upon hearing this question, Yao Qingqian glared at him and said, wait a moment. 10 new disciples will be selected and tested together on the Qingjian stone, and we will know her specific grade. Yes, yes. Elder Wu nodded as if pecking at the rice. I heard that King Yi Jian is going to the Sea of 10,000 Swords to inherit Qingyuan. It will soon stir up all the souls of the youth, Yao Qingqian thought of the young man, his heart pounding. So, he has surpassed the dead in the Sword Pavilion. As he spoke, Elder Wu glanced at the empty blue stone chair in the middle, his gaze strange. Don't mention the dead anymore, Yao Qingqian rolled his eyes. As soon as she finished speaking, an elder suddenly shouted out. A disciple has entered the stone path. The 7 elders, who were originally bored, finally came to their senses. Once 10 disciples defeat the demon and pass the level, the journey to heaven will be over. It seems like a pretty girl, the elders were observing in detail. Is that the ice moon sword spirit of her? The frost is at the level of Kaiyang. I don't know which level it is, lower, middle, or higher. Generally, lower quality products are more common. I'm also a genius at the beginning of the year. What a good seedling. After hearing the sound, Yao Qingqian looked at the stone path and smiled. Jiang Yu. Elder Wu's eyes lit up. Well, it's her, she's currently the first. Yao Qingqian nodded. She is indeed amazing, your blood demon is no longer needed, sighed Elder Wu. Normal. Yao Qingqian shrugged. For a moment, the eyes of the 7 elders were all focused on the stone path. Jiang Yu. Upper section of Dengtian Road. Yun Xiao just passed through a section of road with a howling storm. He saw at a glance a woman ahead, taking the lead in stepping into the stone path. Shidao is the last level, where there are demons blocking the way. I heard that these demons who were caught by Qinghun to train their disciples' courage are the most oppressive and brutal. A storm surged in Yun Xiao's eyes, chasing after the white shadow. He broke through Longquan, delayed some time, but also came up late, surpassing all his disciples. Ahead, there is only one Jiang Yu. When he approached the stone path, the sound of fighting had already come from inside. Yun Xiao took a leap and rushed up the stone path. In front of me is a staircase made up of dozens of giant rocks, designed for giants, with a drop of over 3 zhang for each step. As soon as Yun Xiao came up, he looked up and saw ahead a young girl holding an ice-blue 3-foot sword spirit, fighting against a century-old demon. That's also a snake demon. It has a human upper body and a snake lower body. It has been half human-shaped and has been practicing Taoism for over 100 years. It is shrouded in mist and is extremely ferocious. It can be clearly felt that it is much stronger than the snake demon in the Cloud Kingdom Imperial City. However, Jiang Yu's performance really surprised Yun Xiao. In Yun Xiao's heart, she, who was once not good at fighting, now showed a fierce and cold side. With the wave of her ice moon sword in her hand, the cold wind howled and the frost was lingering. Puff! She directly cut off the head of the snake demon with one sword. If I were still in the mortal martial arts realm and didn't live in Longquan, I wouldn't be her opponent. It seems that in the past 3 months, she has been working hard to achieve remarkable results. Stop! Yun Xiao's cold eyes stood up and chased after him. Is that you? Jiang Yu turned around. In the black and red mist below, a handsome young man with a pair of stormy eyes looked at her. This young man's divine beauty always makes her heart tremble. It's just the name, it makes her sick. She opened her mouth slightly and said lightly, "Did you just make me stop?" Yes. I see that you have a good relationship with Elder Yao. You took the first place, it was predetermined, right? Yun Xiao picked at the corner of his mouth. You. Upon hearing these words, Jiang Yu's willow eyebrows slowly perked up. Yun Xiao's words, like a sword, pierced into her proudest heart. You take action, I'll only strike one sword. Jiang Yu did not climb up the sky again, but instead glared angrily and fell from a high place. Upon hearing these words, Yun Xiao sneered inwardly. She used to look soft and weak in front of herself, so she pretended. You can really pretend. Just. She couldn't even dream that Yun Xiao had already wiped out her entire Jiang family. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Stepping on you to the first place. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. Stepping on you to the first place. Who knows this young man? Shouted a strong black elder with a large arm and a round waist on the sword-shaped stone chair at the 7th sword peak of the Qingjian Terrace. He is elder you, named Yu Xiao. I don't know, but I look good. Yao Qingqian smiled faintly, somewhat dismissive. I think it's just ordinary, elder you smiled. Upon hearing this, everyone was immediately speechless. Are you blind? Is this ordinary and unremarkable? On the sword-carrying platform. Ding! For the first time, Yun Xiao transformed the blue sword spirit into a 3-foot green blade, holding it in his hand, and the sword light surged on it. Your sword spirit. Jiang Yu glanced at his sword spirit and shook her head. How about it? Yun Xiao said. I don't even have the qualification to connect my half-sword, she sneered contemptuously. On the ice-blue sword spirit in her hand, there were 3 layers of cold ice sword shards. This is a 3-layer sword gang. It is fierce and cold, and in terms of its cool appearance, it far surpasses the primitive burial sword spirit of Yun Xiao. Half-sword. Yun Xiao stood in the wind, facing this girl like a cold light, his eyes shining like lightning. Whoosh! He suddenly drew his sword. White clothes and green swords, step into the air. The burial heaven sword spirit, transformed into a palm sword, is not as good as the ice moon sword spirit in terms of the number of sword levels. However, the essence of his death and plundering of vitality made Yun Xiao explode in an instant, and his momentum and fighting spirit completely covered Jiang Yu. When I was 12 years old and went to the battlefield to kill enemies, you, Jiang Yu, were still embroidering flowers in the Prime Minister's mansion. What did you use to fight me for? Tear it off. Yun Xiao was like lightning in white shadows, with a sword like entering an uninhabited land, piercing towards Jiang Yu's face. That blue sword spirit, like a whole world, is pressing towards Jiang Yu. Jiang Yu is still brewing the sword technique taught by Yi Guiying. With Yun Xiao's killing intent, Cangming has already scraped a bloodstain on her face. Quick, accurate, and ruthless. With one sword, whither and whither. The sword pointed straight at Jiang Yu's throat. So fast. Jiang Yu's pupils dilated and her heart suddenly trembled. At this moment, she saw that it was a real outlaw. In a moment of shock, she instinctively gave up and fought head-on with Yun Xiao. Just now, she, who was indifferent and noble, hastily flashed and blocked the green sword from the side with her icy moon sword spirit. Ding 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 ding, sword spirit friction, sparks splattering everywhere. The piercing sound made Jiang Yu frown in pain. The blue sword light swept by, and Jiang Yu's wisp of flying hair instantly turned into ashes. You want to die? Jiang Yu dodged a disaster, her eyes wide open, and her heart suddenly filled with endless frustration and anger. She couldn't accept it, she was actually scared. However, as soon as she shouted these 3 words, a black shadow rushed in front of her. Pop! With a crisp and loud sound, Jiang Yu let out a scream and flew up 3 layers of giant stone steps. Bang! She smashed hard to the ground. At least rolled 8 times. My hair is scattered, and my clothes are all covered in mud. When she screamed and got up in anger, a crimson palm print appeared on her left face. This is a slap from Yun Xiao. She twisted her pretty face. At least the eyebrow bone is broken. Blood is constantly oozing out of the face. Yun Xiao's sword was dodged, and he could only follow closely with a slap and shout. First, he smashed this cold and arrogant stinky face. How come your sword hasn't been released yet? Yun Xiao sneered. Bang! He leaped 3 levels of giant stone steps, holding the blue sword soul that was filled with the breath of death, his eyes full of sword light, and then headed towards Jiang Yu. Jiang Yu just got up, her face burning with pain. She spewed flames in both eyes. You! Before she could speak harshly, she met Yun Xiao's gaze. What kind of eyes are those? Like a ruler beyond the mortal world, with a cold gaze, examining the world. You're actually wielding your sword. Bang! As soon as Jiang Yu got up, she hit a leg in her chest and flew back 3 zhang, hitting the back of her head heavily on the rock. She had stars in her eyes and her head was about to explode. With a backhand touch, the hair was covered in blood. Tearing pain on the face, head, and chest. How else can I wield my sword? She's completely suppressed. The so-called genius is like this pussy. Yun Xiao came back like a god of death. Ah! All of Jiang Yu's pride shattered at this moment. She couldn't say a word, her throat seemed to be blocked, and her body retreated in panic. Help, help. She couldn't breathe and could only look towards the direction of the sword stage with a pitiful gaze. On the Cangming stage, a huge uproar had already been stirred up. Grass. This kid is naturally cruel. Elder Yu shouted. Elder Wu's face changed and he quickly said to Yao Qingqian, his murderous aura is really a bit fatal for disciples like Jiang Yu who have high talent and little experience. Stop talking. Yao Qingqian's anger had already surged in his heart. She could have easily earned the favor of the Leaf Sword King, but where did this come from that disturb her? If Jiang Yu and Yi Guao cannot win first and second place, how can I stand firm in front of the Sword King of Yi? Just now, with a loud bang, the Cangming Tai could hear it clearly. Seeing that half of Jiang Yu's face was purple-red, Yao Qingqian's face was painful. Bang! Yao Qingqian was extremely angry and slammed the stone chair hard, causing the entire sword-bearing platform to tremble. Shua! The elders all looked at her. What are you looking at? Yao Qingqian stared. The elders were a bit puzzled, only Elder Wu knew that she was getting angry at the blood demon. Sure enough, after this shot, the stone path suddenly changed and became steep. Yun Xiao heard a loud shock and looked up to see several towering gazes on the sword-bearing platform. Is there an elder? Yun Xiao frowned. These green soul elders are standing at the end of the heavenly road, their eyes burning as they look down. Among them is Yao Qingqian. Her eyes were as cold as ice caves. There is a clear threat. Scare me. Yun Xiao suddenly charged towards Jiang Yu again, ignoring Yao Qingqian's warning and slapping her forehead again. Just at this moment, an extremely fierce and bloody aura rushed directly from behind Yun Xiao. Yun Xiao felt like there was a sea of blood behind him, covering his head. What the hell? Under the deadly threat, he suddenly turned around. Blood mist permeated behind, and a strong smell of blood swept through. The blood mist in the air suddenly condensed into a humanoid demon composed of dirty blood. It has several arms, sharp claws, a bat-like head, ferocious fangs, and bloodthirsty eyes. Blood demon. Yun Xiao didn't expect to come here and encounter one of the most terrifying demons in folk legends. Blood demon, obsessed with blood. Unlike animal demons, it is transformed by the blood of thousands of people on the battlefield, gathering grievances and grievances. The place where they appear is the hell on earth. There is a border town in Yun Kingdom where blood demons have appeared. When Yun Xiao arrived, there were a total of 8,000 people in that town, all of whom were turned into dry corpses. People, animals, no drop of blood left. The Qinghun sword sect, even the blood demon, a despicable demon, is used to test its disciples and not directly burn corpses to refine their souls. He questioned the sword cultivation sect, which guards the mortal world, for the first time. Hoo. The blood demon smelled the smell of blood on his body and immediately rolled up a demonic wind, roaring and rushing towards him. Blood demon. On the sword stage, several voices of doubt sounded. Elder Yao helped me. Jiang Yu thought of this woman. She quickly got up and finally calmed down in her heart. Don't worry, I'll take first place first. For the sake of the 500-year demon bone, she disregarded her face and ran straight up towards the end of the heavenly road. The piercing pain on her face always embarrasses her. This is at least a 200-year-old demon. Elder Yao's methods are really amazing. Jiang Yu's gaze turned cold again. Behind me, there is a demonic wind and blood rain. He's dead set. Without 3 breaths, he'll become a zombie, right? Jiang Yu quickly ran up the stairs, and the exit of the heavenly road ahead was getting closer and closer. 1. Suddenly, she heard the boy's extremely cold voice. What is he counting? Count down to your own life. Boom boom boom. The sound of fighting behind was intense, and the demonic blood was even more surging. The blood mist almost rushed to Jiang Yu's back, making her spine cold. 2. Just as Jiang Yu thought he was dead, his voice came again. This sound, like a sword, pierced Jiang Yu's eardrum, causing her brain to sting. What are you counting? Jiang Yu scolded angrily and suddenly turned back. Ah! Her pupils suddenly dilated. In the eyes. The young man in white and green sword, holding a blue sword spirit in one hand, struck with a stunning strike. Kaka kaka. Under this green sword, the blood demon screamed mournfully, as if encountering a fatal nightmare, with a face full of panic. With one slash, several arms of the blood demon burst into pieces with blood spurting. Give another howling slash. Blood demon, split in half by a sword. The blue sword light exploded, and the blood demon splashed like rain. At this moment it was precisely when Yun Xiao counted to 2. Time has only passed 2 breaths. Blood demon, die. Shua. A young man in white, holding a green sword, covered in blood. He suddenly turned back and looked at Jiang Yu. So strong. Jiang Yu's legs softened and she had already lost her voice. She screamed, her eyes filled with deep fear, and her only reaction was to run out quickly. She is only 5 steps away from the end of Tiandang Road. These 5 steps are as close as the ends of the earth. Before embarking on the journey to heaven, she was full of confidence and looked down upon the world. She never imagined that she would be shocked by these last 5 steps. 3. At that moment, a nightmare-like voice sounded behind her. Jiang Yu, completely softened. Bang! A heavy blow hit her back. She stumbled and fell directly to the ground, dropping a dog and eating shit. In the last 5 steps, she slid 4 steps on the ground. Puff. Her face, hands and feet were rubbed on the ground, scraping dozens of shocking bloodstains. Eyes, ears, mouth, nose, all covered in blood. Wow! She collided with all kinds of meat and vegetables. Her hair was as messy as a madwoman, her chest and abdomen were shaken, and a mouthful of blood sprayed directly on the last step of this journey to heaven. What is stepping on her back? She knows. That's Yun Xiao's shoes. He counted 3 times and rushed forward, stepping on Jiang Yu and directly stepping on her back of the head, and fingers, ascending the path of heaven. The first one, come to the sword-bearing platform. My demon bones are gone. Jiang Yu's body was covered in bloodstains, and her swollen face was stepped on in the soil. She immediately shed tears, covered in shame. Is this what she longs for on her journey to heaven, to make a stunning sensation? It's simply unbearable. Jiang Yu, on the day Yi Gaiying dies, I will once again take you 2 despicable dogs' heads back to the Cloud Kingdom, hang our imperial city, and offer sacrifices to our people. Yun Xiao sneered inwardly, without looking back, and strode forward. Want to die easily? Dreaming. Yun Xiao wants to give an explanation to the people. She's easy to kill, Yi Gaiying. Difficult to kill. In Yun Xiao's heart, he never regarded this fickle woman as a rival to his immortal path. A piece of trash. She doesn't deserve it. Yun Xiao, you're so brave. Shua shua. At this moment, on the sword-bearing platform, 7 pairs of scorching gazes had already burned onto him. Among them, the path belonging to Yao Qingqian almost pierced through Yun Xiao. Qi Wei was stunned. It whispered to Blue Star, "Why did she say that Ah Dao has such a big egg? She's talking about courage. Courage." End of this chapter. Chapter 8. 3 days later, shocking the world. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. 3 days later, shocking the world. Yun Xiao looked forward. The woman in the red dress, Yao Qingqian, had already come down from the stone chair of the first sword peak and stood in front of him. Her eyes were filled with deep indifference and thick smoke of anger. Yun Xiao has seen many beautiful women in the mortal world, but this is the first time she has seen such a cold and charming female cultivator. Compared to ordinary people, she has a majestic magical power that forms a cloud and mist ring around her body, exuding a natural and outstanding temperament. Disciple Yun Xiao, I have seen all the elders. Yun Xiao chose to ignore Yao Qingqian's anger and bowed to the 7 elders. The elders looked at him up and down, sighing in their hearts. What an outstanding young man in white clothes. Yun Xiao, do you know what's wrong? Yao Qingqian's chest was full of rage and murderous intent. I don't know. Yun Xiao stood still on the Qingjian platform. You were on your way to heaven, and you dealt such a harsh blow to others, which shows that you are naturally cruel and not suitable for the righteous spirit. Go away. In order to intimidate him, Yao Qingqian's magical power was like the sea, suppressing Yun Xiao. Elder Yao, as far as I know, the mortality rate of each phase of the heavenly road is 10%, and the deceased mostly come from disciples killing each other. I didn't even kill a dog, how come I have a violent nature? Yun Xiao said calmly. Do you dare to confront me? Yao Qingqian's cold eyes showed that a killing intent had already emerged. It's just reasoning, Yun Xiao said coldly. I don't understand why Elder Yao is targeting me, unless you have a designated first choice. After speaking, he pointed to Jiangyu, whose face was covered in blood and struggling to get up from the rock, and couldn't help but laugh and say, isn't it this kind of thing? You're looking for death. Yao Qingqian's chest and abdomen undulated. At this moment of tension, the 7th sword peak, with a large and round waist, was inserted between Elder Yu and Yao Qingqian. All right, for a formal occasion, don't make a fool of yourself. Elder Yu patted Yun Xiao's shoulder and said happily, Kid, you don't look very good, are you quite attractive? The disciple's dream of entering the Green Soul has been true for many years, and now it has finally come true. It's just a matter of reasoning and striving, Yun Xiao said seriously. You're in a hurry. Yao Meiren was just joking with you, and you're not very humorous. Elder Yu shook his head. You Xianzhou. Yao Qingqian looked at him coldly, I'm not joking. Gah. Elder Yu was stunned. What's up with that? They've worked hard to come up, you let them go. This Jiang Yu is your cousin from your hometown. The elders looked at each other in confusion. The 3rd sword peak, Elder Wu Yu, stood next to Yao Qingqian with a dark face. You Xianzhou, if you had one less mouth, perhaps you could have lived a few more years, Yao Qingqian snorted coldly. Yes, you give me an extra one, you can get by better than me. You Xianzhou murmured in a low voice, afraid for Yao Qingqian to hear. Finally, Yao Qingqian glared angrily at them, indicating that he had given up and did not target Yun Xiao again. She quickly helped Jiang Yu up, took out a jade bottle, poured out a few white jade-like pills, some for Jiang Yu to take, and some for her to apply externally. Up close, this young girl with bruises all over her body, every wound is like a bloody centipede. Yao Qingqian is even more infuriated. If it weren't for fear of spreading it and damaging your reputation, I would have chopped off this foolish young man on the spot. Yao Qingqian gritted his teeth. There's no way, you still need face. Otherwise, it would be decisive to kill. Elder Yao, my skills are inferior to others. Jiang Yu said in a low voice. What skills are not as good as humans? Don't think too much, this person is taking advantage of combat experience. Yao Qingqian comforted him carefully. The way to cultivate is that as long as time goes on, anyone can have combat experience. This is the least valuable. Talent is the key to determining how far you can go. Indeed. I have only been exploring the immortal realm for 3 months. I used to fight too little, Jiang Yu said wrongly. It's okay, Yao Qingqian pointed her in a direction. Look over there. Jiang Yu followed her fingers and saw a high platform behind the 8 stone chairs. On the high platform, there is a huge stone. The giant stone is circular in shape and has a Tai Chi yin-yang fish pattern on its surface. Black fish on the left and white fish on the right. This is the Qingjian stone. Yao Qingqian said. I heard senior brother Yi say that it can test the precision level of sword spirit. Jiang Yu's eyes lit up slightly. Yes. He said your Ice Moon sword spirit is likely to reach the top-grade Kaiyang level. Do you know what this means? Yao Qingqian envied. I don't know. Jiang Yu shook her head. That's the testing limit of Qingjian stone. It means you're the highest level genius of Qinghun. Once you let this Qingjian stone burst into a strong, deep orange light, it's enough to shine across the mountains and attract the attention of the entire sect. Yao Qingqian smiled all over his face. At that time, you don't have to be the first to climb to the sky, you can still make a stunning debut and enter Qinghun as an unparalleled pride. Okay. Jiang Yu's humiliated and gloomy eyes only regained their confidence at this moment. If Elder Yu knew you were a top-grade Kaiyang, he would definitely regret his words just now. Yao Qingqian sneered. He thinks I'm a lowly Kaiyang. Jiang Yu looked at Elder Yu with disgust. So, what my sister wants to tell you is that losing to an outlaw today is not a big deal. You are not from the same world at all. You are destined to become a top-notch powerhouse in Qinghun, and he is just an unknown person. Don't let this defeat affect your Dao heart. Yao Qingqian said in a focused tone. Thank you, Elder Yao. Jiang Yu was moved. Just call me Sister Yao, Yao Qing said softly. When this sister shouts, Yi Gaing can't turn her back, can she? Yes, Sister Yao. Jiang Yu looked at the Qingjian stone with anticipation and asked, when will I go up to the Qingjian stone? Don't worry, wait for the 10 new disciples to decide and test them all. Yao Qingqian coldly glanced at Yun Xiao. Only then will this short-lived ghost with a lack of a string in his mind know how humble he is in front of you. Jiang Yu, she's starting to look forward to Yun Xiao's expression. I don't know why, she really wants to suppress this young man. Not just because of his cruelty just now. Perhaps it's also related to the name Yun Xiao that makes her speechless. About half an hour later, 10 new disciples will be determined. Where's Yi Guo? Yao Qingqian really didn't expect that this arrogant little demon king could not even climb the stone path. He is really 108,000 miles behind his brother. Helpless. She can only distribute the reward for ascending the heavenly road first, and then take 10 new disciples to pass through the Qingjian stone. First place, Yun Xiao. When Yao Qingqian took out the 500-year-old demon bones, his pretty face was twitching. That is a cloth bag, even though it has been sealed, a ferocious demon aura still permeates. After Yun Xiao picks it up, open the cloth bag and take a look. There is a dark purple demon bone inside, covered in blood streaks, with a fierce smell. 500 years, this is the bone of the Demon King. Demon King, those are all great demons in chaotic times. A demon can subdue 1,000,000 corpses, extremely terrifying. It can be seen that this kind of treasure, in the hands of Yun Xiao, is such a waste. This scene tore Jiang Yu's heart apart once again. Fortunately, Yao Qingqian has already led everyone up to the sword stone. Jiang Yu's opportunity has come. 10 new disciples are standing under this giant rock. This is a Urji Qingjian stone. Have you seen 2 fish eyes? Yao Qingqian's voice was as cold as frost. I see it. That's the two sword caves of the Qingjian stone. You pair up and put the sword spirit into the black and white sword caves. The Qingjian stone will absorb the power of heaven and earth yin and yang to flow into the two sword souls. Due to the different levels of sword spirit, the two extreme Qingjian stones will appear in different colors. Yao Qingqian introduced. In this process, the sword spirit of two people, together drawing the power of yin and yang, will also have a competitive force, dividing male and female. Test two people at once. Both the black fish and the white fish will change color. Once they travel together, there is a huge difference in talent, and that kind of psychological mistake is huge. Yes. The disciples were feeling nervous. The entire Qinghan has only one Erji Qingjian stone, so they don't even know that their sword spirit is truly of the highest grade. Shake light level, with 3 grades in the bottom, middle, and top, divided into light red, red, and deep red. Kaiyang level, lower, middle, and upper grades, divided into light orange, orange, and deep orange. Perhaps to make Yun Xiao feel inferior, Yao Qingqian specially arranged for him to pair up with Jiang Yu. Yao Qingqian hopes that Jiang Yu's sword spirit will give birth to a deep orange color in the Qingjian stone, instead of light orange. Start testing. As expected, the first 4 groups are all at the shaking light level sword spirit. Whether it's a white fish or a black fish, the Qingjian stone turns red. Just some are deep, some are shallow. The most talented disciple, with a sword spirit of top. Grade shaking light level, and a sword bearing stone shining deep red. This has already received praise from several elders. The orange light has not yet appeared, so naturally it has not yet reached the level of Kaiyang. Soon. It's Yun Xiao and Jiang Yu's turn. Yun Xiao. Jiang Yu suddenly looked at him coldly. You wait for me. Today's humiliation will be repaid 10 times. Do you deserve it? Yun Xiao sneered contemptuously. You. Jiang Yu was furious. At this moment, Yao Qingqian's hopeful voice came in. Jiang Yu, Yun Xiao, take on the sword stone. In front of everyone's attention, Yun Xiao and Jiang Yu stood in front of the white fish and black fish of Qingjian stone, respectively. In Jiang Yu's eyes, there was a burning desire for the unparalleled and magnificent immortal road. Compared to the heavenly road, the Qingjian stone was her true springboard. Sacrifice to the sword spirit. Yao Qingqian gave Yun Xiao a cold glance and then said softly to Jiang Yu. In the hands of a man and a woman, the sword spirit flew out of their palm and gently rotated. Jiang Yu's ice moon sword spirit, with 3 layers of sword spirit, permeated with the cold moonlight, and the cold and sharp sword sound pierced the eardrums. Appearance. Excellent. And the blue sword spirit in Yun Xiao's palm only has a layer of sword spirit, with a faint blue light. The appearance is very ordinary. From the appearance, individuals can see the difference in their sword spirit essence. Shenzhou Tianzhu. Yao Qingqian turned to face the distance with great solemnity, reciting words in his mouth. Sword ancestor is above, and now there are disciples Jiang Yu and Yun Xiao who carry the stone of the sword and enter the book of the green soul sword. This process is not only a test of sword spirit, but also an official introductory ceremony. Worshipping the heavenly pillar of Shenzhou. Yun Xiao's eyes showed a strange expression. He has heard that all sword cultivators in China worship the heavenly pillar of China. Legend has it that the Shenzhou heavenly pillar is the origin of the sword spirit, hence it is called the sword ancestor. Its shape looks like a sword that lifts the sky. So, all sword cultivators in the world regard the Shenzhou heavenly pillar as their spiritual belief. Although the Shenzhou heavenly pillar disappeared, Yao Qingqian still completed the ceremony. The direction is reversed, Yun Xiao said as he looked at Yao Qingqian's graceful back. What are you saying? Jiang Yu glanced at him. I said, my sword spirit is the divine heavenly pillar, Yun Xiao chuckled lightly. Upon hearing this, Jiang Yu felt that the person was sick. All the water in the East China Sea has entered your mind, she said at this moment. Yao Qingqian turned around and said, Jiang Yu and Yun Xiao, put your sword souls into the sword cave of Qingjian stone. Yes. Jiang Yu's heart skipped a beat. She took 2 steps forward, pinching the ice moon sword soul. In Yao Qingqian's hopeful eyes, the sword soul entered the sword cave of black fish in Qingjian stone. Yun Xiao then placed his sword spirit into the white fish sword cave. 1 black and 1 white twin fish formed the Tai Chi Yin Yang fish. The power of the 2 extremes is once again activated, attracting the Yin Yang power of heaven and earth to converge on the sword spirit in the sword cave. Double swords, competing for male and female. Qingjian stone, can I bury the heavenly sword spirit? Yun Xiao was a little curious. Buzz. The power of heaven and earth's yin and yang, enveloping Yun Xiao's spirit of the burial heaven sword, began to peel off. It must be deep orange. Yao Qingqian stood next to Jiang Yu. She bent down and leaned forward, staring at the black fish part of the sword-bearing stone. Is it about to be tested? Yun Xiao felt that there was a strange movement in the spirit of the burial heaven sword and quickly looked over. Buzz. The spirit of the burial sword suddenly shook. The power of yin and yang on it was so terrifying that it fled back into the sword stone like a living creature. A wisp of green mist gushing out from the soul of the buried sky sword, chasing and merging into these 2 poles of the sword stone. There won't be any trouble, will there? Yun Xiao was startled in his heart. Buzz. After the little green mist entered the Qingjian stone, it trembled violently. What's the situation? Yao Qingqian beside him exclaimed in surprise. Even Jiang Yu's side was affected, and the entire Urji Qingjian stone, whether it was a black fish or a white fish, was shrouded in a raging green mist. Woo-woo. Qingjian stone let out a mournful cry. From black and white to plain, the fleeting blue mist rises to the sky. A deadly breath of death was released, striking Yun Xiao, Jiang Yu, and Yao Qingqian. Buzz. They were all shaken back and driven away. Kaka. Before he could stabilize his body, Yao Qingqian was horrified to see that the Qingjian stone had burst into large cracks. Oh no! Several elders exclaimed in shock. The words have just fallen. Boom! With a loud explosion, the entire sword-bearing stone exploded into pieces. Not even the gravel, it exploded into smoke. This explosion unexpectedly caused the Qingjian terrace and the land of Tsangshan to tremble with a loud roar. With such a loud noise, sweeping through the mountains of Qinghan, especially the maple forest on the heavenly road, thousands of fallen leaves are flying in a thunderous manner. The Qingjian stone is shattered. The elders couldn't believe their eyes and quickly wiped them off. Damn it, something big happened. Elder Yu sweated in his forehead and his voice trembled. Since the establishment of the Qinghun sect, the Qingjian stone has never exploded. What does this mean? The elders twisted their heads in difficulty and looked at Yun Xiao and Jiang Yu with shocked eyes. This indicates that someone's sword spirit is likely to exceed the Kaiyang level. What is the concept of exceeding the Kaiyang level? Today, the world has opened up. The 7 elders were shocked and almost suffocated. Did I expose it? Yun Xiao could only sigh. Feeling pregnant was like being pregnant, and he couldn't hide it even if he wanted to. From the expressions and eyes of these elders, it can be seen how much trouble has been caused. Buzz, buzz. Suddenly, clouds and mist rolled in the sky, and the sound of roaring swords came. Imperial sword. Yun Xiao looked up and saw more than 10 giant swords swinging open the sky wind, breaking through the sea of clouds, and flying towards him. The giant sword passed by, and millions of sword chi swept through the sky. For a moment, a strong wind blew. The trees and rocks near the Qingjian terrace are dotted with sword marks out of thin air. You're so fierce. Yun Xiao's mind was just stirred and the white clouds in the sky slammed down more than 10 sword lights and stabbed them onto the sword-bearing platform. Fierce and even more fierce. Yun Xiao's pupils contracted. He knew that those who came must be extremely strong. It must be a higher-level existence among the green souls. Among them. The leader quickly caught Yun Xiao's eye. That was a middle-aged man, tall and aloof, with long eyebrows reaching his temples and a sharp eagle nose. As he walked like an eagle, with a sword seat surging in his eyes. Farewell to Lord Sword. The 7 elders quickly bowed. Even Elder Yu, upon seeing this person, quickly lowered his head and retreated slightly behind everyone, with tiny beads of sweat on his forehead. Sword Lord. That is definitely the Qinghun sword sect, a real big shot. Not only this sword lord, but also a dozen young men and women who came from behind to wield swords, each wearing sword robes, with outstanding demeanor, profound magical power, and sword aura surrounding them. Whether it is their appearance, demeanor, or strength, it all indicates that they are young sword cultivators with outstanding talent among the green souls. In all aspects, it far surpasses beginner disciples like Yun Xiao. The Qingjian stone shattered and even attracted the sword master of the first sword peak. A disciple whispered in shock. The sword lord of the first sword peak. Yi Gaiying is the title sword king of the first sword peak. He should have a great relationship with this sword lord, Yun Xiao said in secret. Sure enough. Yao Qingqian welcomed him up. She also looked in awe and lowered her head, saying, Qian heir, I have seen Sword Lord before. The Sword Lord didn't glance at her, his eagle-like sharp eyes swept through the crowd and locked onto someone. Yun Xiao. Jiang Yi next to him. Come here. Sword Lord's voice was a bit like a sharp sword rubbing against it, making one's scalp tingle and naturally generating awe. Yes, Sword Lord. Jiang Yu's heart trembled slightly, and she gritted her head as she obediently walked up to him. Kneel down. Jian Zun looked down at her. Yes, Jiang Yu bent her legs, lowered her head, and her palms were sweating. Name. Sword Lord's voice came from above. Jiang Yu. Head up. Jiang Yu only dared to see his chest and dared not look up at him. Unexpectedly, the Sword Lord leaned down slightly, the corners of his mouth raised, and his gaze softened. He asked, Jiang Yu, are you willing to be my own disciple? Upon hearing these words, Jiang Yu was overjoyed. She finally confirmed that the person in front of her was the important person mentioned by senior brother Yi and her. He is not on the sword-bearing platform, but he is related to the annotation of the sword-bearing stone. Yuer is fortunate enough to have the sword master as the immortal road guide. She knelt down devoutly and kowtowed 3 times. Okay. From now on, you will be my 13th disciple. As a teacher, I will take you to the clouds and into the sky. Sword master stroked his long beard with great satisfaction. Hello, junior sister. Behind Sword Lord, several young men and women with noble spirits gazed at Jiang Yu, their eyes full of amazement. Jiang Yu has met all the senior brothers and sisters. She admired and looked at these people. In her eyes, these were like the solitary shadows of Yi, soaring through the clouds and breaking free from the mundane world. In the future, she will also be one of them. Fate has completely changed. Jiang Yu. Jian Zun was in a great mood, and a blue jade bottle appeared in his hand. Although this jade vase is small, it seems to be hiding a vast sea. When it shakes, the sound of waves rolling can be heard. This is the divine sea pill, which is an introductory gift from your teacher. Buzz. As soon as this thing was taken out, the eyes of the 7 elders immediately straightened. Even the young sword cultivator behind the sword master was stunned for a moment, with a strong look of envy in his eyes. God Sea Pill. Elder Yu's eyes stared like copper bells. Sword Lord is really a big shot. He's such a precious treasure, he'll give it to you when we meet. The value of this thing is at least 10 times that of those 500-year demon bones. 10 times. Are you joking? The entire green soul is like a divine sea pill. This kind of divine object that can make disciples who have just entered Longquan soar all the way and quickly enter the divine sea realm is what all geniuses dream of. The elders started arguing in a low voice. An introductory gift, like a thunderbolt on the flat ground. The Longquan realm is said to be the only realm where one can quickly break through and grow with the help of elixirs. Thank you, Master. Jiang Yu will definitely live up to Master's expectations, expand Longquan as soon as possible, and step into the divine sea realm. Jiang Yu's heart skipped a beat, almost unable to suppress her ecstasy. A divine sea pill is enough to sweep away all her depression and frustration today. Her obedient appearance and respectful tone made Yun Xiao admire her for a moment. At the very least, he can't kneel or kowtow like this. But he's a bit puzzled. I blew up the Qingjian stone. Why did Sword Lord take her as his disciple when he arrived? Give her a divine pill. Everyone's envious gaze is on Jiang Yu. Yuer, let me show you my sword spirit, Jian Zun smiled. Jiang Yu wielded a sword spirit and handed it to the first sword master. Sword Lord, it is this ice moon sword spirit that exceeds the limit of the sword stone and detonates it. Yao Qingqian bowed behind Sword Lord, his tone full of admiration. Jian Zun nodded, stroking the sword with his palm, and his fingers were covered in a layer of frost. He has 3 doubts in his eyes. But it quickly dissipated. He sighed and said, the highest level of Ice Moon Sword Spirit in history is the top-grade Kaiyang level. I never expected that there would be an Ice Moon Sword Spirit in this world that surpasses Kaiyang level. Isn't it the Yuhan level? In the history of Qinghan, there has never been a Yuhan level sword spirit genius before. Yao Qingqian exclaimed. She added to her heart. Yi Gaiying, she doesn't even have the level of Yuhan. Maybe even more. Sword Lord's words completely knocked Yao Qingqian unconscious. Our green soul belongs to the Urji Qingjian stone. In theory, even at the Yuhan level, it is impossible to shatter it, said the Sword Lord as he gazed at the Ice Moon Sword Soul. Can you say, Tianquan? Yao Qingqian lost his voice. She completely understands. Why did Sword Lord accept his disciples as soon as he met and even give the coveted divine sea pill to Jiang Yu directly to a group of disciples behind him? Kaiyang level talents are all heavenly talents. Once you reach the heavenly power, it is at the mythological level. Upon hearing the words heavenly power, Sword Lord raised his lips slightly. The Green Soul's sword stone has been destroyed, and I have to apply to Wan Jianhai for a 4-pole sword stone. Yuer's sword spirit, whether it's Yuheng or Tianquan, will be revealed as soon as the 4-pole sword stone arrives. The Sword Lord touched Jiang Yu's head, and Jiang Yu enjoyed it very much. How long will it take? Yao Qingqian couldn't wait, wanting to see the Ice Moon sword spirit shining in the sky. 3 days later, at that time, the 7 Swords Quest the Cauldron should arrive, said Jian Zun calmly. On the day of the decisive battle of the 7 swords, when all the people of Qinghan are present, everyone will witness the birth of the first genius in Qinghuan's history to surpass the Kaiyang level. Yao Qingqian asked excitedly. The second Leaf Sword King. Yao Qingqian is now convinced that even the lonely shadow of Yi may be able to cling to Jiang Yu. Yuheng, Tianquan. What kind of concept is this? As soon as the 4-pole sword stone arrives, it will be revealed directly, causing a sensation in the world. Yao Qingqian, you're quite good at creating suspense and atmosphere, Jian Zun glanced at her. Jiang Yu is your personally passed down disciple. Her beauty, as well as the sword's respect for your beauty, Yao Qingqian smiled coquettishly. Okay. On the day of 7 Swords Quest the Cauldron, let's test Yuer's sword spirit again. Sword Master stroked his beard and smiled long. People with all green souls, witness my rise. Upon hearing this, Jiang Yu's soul was almost soaring. 7 Swords Quest the Cauldron. That is a popular Qinghun sword cultivation event that has been passed down among the people. 3 days later. She is a prime minister woman, and her sword spirit is not only top-notch but also at the Kaiyang level. What the hell am I? Upon hearing this, Yun Xiao finally understood. He blew up the Qingjian stone and let Jiang Yu take off. No, Yun Xiao asked Elder Yu next to him, why didn't anyone take a glance at me when we tested our sword spirit together? Mr. Yu had already been frightened by Jiang Yu and was sweating profusely. Show me your sword spirit, he said in a slightly hoarse voice, reaching out to Yun Xiao. Yun Xiao handed him the sword spirit and said, be careful not to cut the skin. It's okay to hold this heavenly sword soul in your hand. If the skin is cut, it will directly corrode the flesh and blood. Elder Yu pinched his sword spirit and only glanced at it before throwing it back to Yun Xiao. How is it? Yun Xiao asked. Not really, Elder Yu shrugged. What does it mean? Elder Yu couldn't help but cover his forehead and said, aren't you the Qinglian sword spirit? The most common lower-grade shake light sword spirit. In my 7th sword peak, I have the sword cultivation of Qinglian sword spirit in my hand, and there are even 80 without 100. Yun Xiao. Qinglian sword spirit. 80. That's really quite ordinary. No wonder no one paid attention. Just by looking at its appearance, it is indeed far inferior to the divine power of the Ice Moon Sword Soul in the icy sky and snow. 7 swords conquer the cauldron, it's only 3 days. Elder Yu ignored him and looked up at the young girl, causing a storm in his heart. When the time comes, use the 4-pole sword stone to test again. Whether she is Yuheng or the terrifying heavenly power, as long as her grade is certain, she will be recorded in the history of the Green Soul. Can you give me another test then? Yun Xiao thought to himself. 4-pole sword-bearing stone. I don't know, can I withstand my sword spirit? Anyway, as long as he doesn't go up with Jiang Yu, she will be beaten back to her original form. At that time. Now these extremely confident people will all become jokes. Especially Jiang Yu, who drifts into immortality. This is not her true ability. The higher she floats now, the more miserable she will fall in 3 days. Yun Xiao picked at the corner of his mouth. He doesn't care about this matter today. Besides, Jian Zun and Yi Gaiying are in the same group. Fortunately, Jiang Yu helped herself up, otherwise there might have been trouble. The problem is, she already has an extra divine sea pill because of you, Blue Star said in her arms. Yun Xiao smiled. No matter how much black chicken eats white phoenix balls, it's still chicken. No matter how high she flies, I can shoot her down with just one sword. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Peeled his skin. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9 Peeled his skin. After receiving apprentices and giving pills, the Sword Lord and others seemed to have something to attend to, so they took a step ahead. Sword Cultivator leaves, soaring into the sky. Leave a Sword Lord disciple named Wang Feng responsible for taking Jiang Yu to the first sword peak. At the same time, guide her to adapt to the sword cultivation life of Qinghun. Senior Brother 12, please wait for me for a moment, Jiang Yu said to the young man wearing an orange sword robe. The young man, elegant and sunny, smiled and nodded at Jiang Yu, his eyes full of admiration. Unexpectedly, Jiang Yu took a few steps, rolled up the frost, and came to Yun Xiao. Do you regret it? Jiang Yu raised her chin slightly and looked at him indifferently. Regret? I didn't expect your sword spirit to be so terrifying. It's really like a little cow learning to wield a sword. It's so powerful. Yun Xiao gave her a thumbs up. Vulgar. Jiang Yu glared at him and gritted her teeth, although you are extremely afraid of me, I have said. I will repay you 10 times for the revenge you have insulted me. How can I repay it? Yun Xiao sneered in his heart. You can find a way to participate in the 7 Swords quest for the cauldron. I, Jiang Yu, am honest and upright, and I don't want to take advantage of you to deceive you. I will be honest and straightforward, she said proudly. 7 Swords conquer the cauldron, is that your amazing day again? Yun Xiao joked. The word, you, made Jiang Yu's eyebrows furrow deeply. The sparrow is despicable and doesn't know the swan. She was too lazy to say more after leaving this sentence. For her now, this young man in white is just a small stain on the path of cultivating immortality. On the day of takeoff, effortlessly erase it. When she spoke to Yun Xiao, the Sword Lord disciple named Wang Feng also spoke to Yao Qingqian in a low voice. Sister Yao, what's their relationship? Wang Feng held his arms and squinted at Yun Xiao. That boy snatched Jiang Yu from the top spot on the heavenly road and even injured her, Yao Qingqian snorted coldly. Oh. Wang Feng's sword intent surged in his eyes, you're really ruthless. This kind of jumping clown who knows nothing about heaven and earth is abundant in the mortal world, Yao Qingqian sneered. That's right. Wang Feng's eyes lit up and he said, by the way. I've recently practiced a skill called skin peeling, which can accurately control my sword spirit. It's like peeling off a whole piece of human skin like a field chicken. I'm worried about not finding a field chicken. If the skin is peeled off, will a person die? Yao Qingqian developed a strong interest. Of course not, you're still bouncing around and shouting. Wang Feng said happily. Oh. Yao Qingqian chuckled coquettishly, unfortunately, this kid has a good set of skin bags. If he dares to go to Qinghan, what is Xianlu without first inquiring? One immortal becomes, 10,000 bones wither. Those who have no ability, one wrong word will destroy their divine form. Wang Feng sneered. He understands these rules too well. But those newcomers often don't understand. As soon as you come in, your eyes are high and your hands are low. One slip will lead to death without a complete body. Sister Yao, when he selects the sword peak, let me know. I'll knock on the door and catch the field chicken in the middle of the night. Wang Feng raised his eyebrows and smiled brightly. Be quiet, Yao Qingqian said angrily. Of course. This is my gift to the young junior sister as a meeting gift, said Wang Feng. Upon hearing this, Yao Qingqian's smile faded as she saw that Jiang Yu had already come over. She quickly whispered, just a reminder, Jiang Yu was brought back by King Yi Jian. He. Wang Feng's face changed, and there was a hint of fear in his eyes. He murmured, isn't he a Taoist couple now? He can still take over everything. As long as you have a plan in mind, Yao Qingqian said. Okay. Wang Feng was extremely depressed, his eyes even colder. However, after reuniting with Jiang Yu again, he immediately transformed back into a sunny boy and left with both of them. Like a pair of fairy lovers, wielding swords in the clouds. Jiang Yu certainly doesn't know how to wield swords yet, so it was Wang Feng who supported her slender waist, stepped on the sword spirit of his 12 senior brothers, and flew away. Indeed, the cow is pushing it to the heavens. As soon as Wang Feng left, the remaining new disciples of Qinghan finally breathed a sigh of relief. This kind of sword lord disciple gives them a great sense of oppression as a group of newcomers. You 9, each choose a sword peak. Yao Qingqian crossed his waist with one hand and pointed to a young man in the crowd. Lin Yan, you can come to the first sword peak. The others are not allowed to choose. The young man she chose was the third on the heavenly road, with a top-dot quality shake light sword spirit. From her proud words, it can be heard that the first sword peak is the place where the disciples want to go and have the initiative to choose. Other sword peaks should be similar. Yao Qingqian fell silent, and the remaining new disciples quickly selected their future camp. Finally, only Yun Xiao remained. When Yun Xiao looked at these 7 elders, they coughed and looked up at the sky. "Yun Xiao, let me discuss something with you." Elder Yu walked up and grabbed his arm, walking to the edge of the sword-accepting platform. "Elder Yu, please speak up. Yun Xiao has a good impression of this 7th sword peak elder. What do you think of me, old Yu?" Elder Yu asked him seriously. "Elder Yu is fair and just," said Yun Xiao. "When you first came up, Yao Qingqian targeted you and I said something for you, right?" Elder Yu seemed to want to hear this. Yun Xiao was taken aback for a moment and nodded slowly. "For this matter, do me a favor, old Yu," said Elder Yu. "Please speak. Don't choose my 7th sword peak." Elder Yu gritted his teeth. He wanted to explain a few more sentences, but he didn't expect Yun Xiao to respond with a good word. Elder Yu gave him a complicated look and said, "Young man, I'm sorry. Old Yu still quite appreciates you. Even if Jiang Yu is of medium-grade Kaiyang level, I can still hold on to you. Unfortunately, she exceeded the Kaiyang level, shattered the Qingjian stone, and shattered the history of Qinghan." Yun Xiao smiled and said, "Elder Yu doesn't need to care, it's human nature." "I can't bring disaster back to the 7th sword peak, can you understand me?" Elder Yu sighed. "I understand." Yun Xiao nodded. "Thank you." Elder Yu arched his hand. "No need. Disaster. Speaking so much is of no use. Elder Yu, rest assured to turn back." As a result, what he saw was that except for him and Yao Qingqian, the other 5 elders of Jianfeng fled directly upon seeing this. Afraid of Yun Xiaoxian choosing them. Damn it. Elder Yu was confused. Yun Xiao couldn't help but laugh. Those who practice Taoism are more selfish and realistic in their pursuit of fate. I once had fantasies about Qinghan, thinking that cultivators were all saints who could conquer heaven and earth and eliminate demons for thousands of miles. I thought that Yi Gaiying was a cancer among them, but I didn't expect that he was just ordinary here. Even so, Yun Xiao will still enter the Green Soul. After all, he didn't come here to uphold justice. He is here to kill and hone his killing skills. The problem is, the 7th sword peak is not allowed to be chosen, and all the other sword peaks have run away. Who will be chosen? Yun Xiao's gaze couldn't help but fall on the central and heaviest among the 8 stone chairs. Sword Pavilion. Today, no one came to the Sword Pavilion. Qinghan Sword Sect, with 1 Sword Pavilion and 7 Sword Peaks, should Sword Pavilion be the strongest lineage? Yun Xiao had some impression. When he was the ruler of the mortal kingdom, he loved to inquire about the affairs of the Qinghan Sword Sect, but unfortunately he didn't have the sword spirit. So he asked, "Elder Yu, why isn't there anyone on the stone chair of the Sword Pavilion?" Sword Pavilion. Elder Yu looked a bit strange when he mentioned Sword Pavilion and said, "There aren't many living people in Sword Pavilion. No living person. Dead." Yun Xiao was confused. "Do you want to choose the Sword Pavilion?" Elder Yu asked urgently. Now the other elders have run away, and Yun Xiao has not yet chosen. He is afraid of change. "I choose the Sword Pavilion," Yun Xiao said. As soon as he said this, Elder Yu relaxed a lot. Upon hearing these words, Yao Qingqian's lips slightly curved upwards. They didn't explicitly say it, but they all want Yun Xiao to choose the Sword Pavilion. I heard that the Sword Pavilion is the first branch of the Green Soul. Yun Xiao looked at the thick blue stone chair, with sword marks modeled on it, as if it had a sharp sword-like intent. 3 years ago, an event that caused a sensation across thousands of countries happened in the Sword Pavilion, didn't you know? Elder Yu asked. Yun Xiao shook his head. When you arrive at the Sword Pavilion, take your time to inquire. Elder Yu pursed his lips. Line. Elder Yu patted his shoulder and hesitated to speak. Finally, he glanced at him and said, becoming a disciple of the sword pavilion, enter the mountain. First pay respects to the tomb. Worshipping the tomb. Yun Xiao was stunned. Well, I'm dead. Elder Yu's eyes flashed with a hint of sadness. Are we all dead? Yes. Yun Xiao became curious instead. He's going, what exactly is that place? Why is Elder Yu so secretive? Is it okay for you to ask someone to find the way to the sword pavilion yourself? Elder Yu asked. Yun Xiao knew that in today's situation, he had already spoken so much to himself, which was the end of his kindness and righteousness. No. Yun Xiao could tell that Elder Yu was anxious and wanted to apologize to Yao Qingqian. Finally, I would like to ask, what is 7 swords questing the cauldron? Yun Xiao asked. Simply put, it's about sword cultivation competing for resources and conquering the green soul. The first sword to be bestowed upon Jiang Yu's divine sea pill is to make her rise to prominence in the 7 swords and establish the supreme position of the first sword peak. With this divine sea pill, who can compete with such a heavenly beauty like her? Elder Yu gave him a last glance. Young man, recognize reality clearly. Being able to defeat her once in your life is already a blessing for 3 lives. Haha. Yun Xiao suddenly laughed. Elder Yu, goodbye. He arched his hand and finished speaking, then turned around and jumped off the sword-bearing platform, heading towards the direction of the Green Soul Mountains and leaving without a trace. As soon as you enter the forest, you never look back. Yao Qingqian rolled his eyes and said, as soon as he goes to the sword pavilion, it's a vast abyss. Half a day. Yun Xiao climbed over the magnificent and continuous Green Soul Mountains, and after questioning people all the way, he finally arrived at the sword pavilion. Jiang'e is the main peak of Qinghun. It is also the most unique lineage among the Green Souls. The mountain in front of me is like a green cloud giant sword, soaring into the sky and piercing into the clouds. The trees above are all green pines, straight like swords, with a strong and upright aura. Undoubtedly, it is the main peak with great courage. Yun Xiaozong ventured into the forest and climbed up the mountain. He opened his mouth and inhaled, and a vast spiritual energy poured into his chest and abdomen. Dantian Longquan is surging, refreshing and refreshing. To achieve twice the result with half the effort, one must have a blessed land and a magnificent spiritual sea. This is much better than ordinary dust. Around dusk, Yun Xiao climbed onto this main peak and looked ahead at the pristine clouds and mist. I saw elegant towers in the mountains, as if floating above the clouds, resembling the heavenly palace and immortal court depicted by mortals. That's the sword pavilion. We're almost there. Yun Xiao climbed up a bluestone staircase. Bathing in gusts of wind, skillfully weaving fine clouds, and refreshing grass and trees in the forest. There were also clear bird songs, and the mist filled the water at dusk, wetting his long hair and white clothes. Yun Xiao feels very comfortable. This quiet, long, and ethereal environment was the fairyland in his dreams when he was young. It's just that this road is much more bloody and ferocious than I imagined. I am Yun Xiao, alone, carefree, indifferent to life and death. Those who refuse to accept me will be killed and earned. Why be afraid? After death, he did not covet the world. In the rest of my life, I will only seek enlightenment and pleasure. Jiang Yu, Ciji Qingjian Stone, Shanhai Dan. In his eyes, all of these are just a piece of paper. With a single thrust, it broke. White clothes are like shadows, brushing over the green mountains. That's it. Yun Xiao's eyebrows and eyes froze. 7 graves appeared in the wasteland before my eyes. Tomb soil, tomb plaques, offerings lay before my eyes. On each mound, there is a sword box inserted. Inside the sword box, it seems like there are demons and ferocious souls imprisoned. Fierce demon faces emerged one after another, grinning at Yun Xiao. Looking further down. The characters on the tomb plaque caught his attention. A desolate, solemn, desolate, and magnificent atmosphere is conveyed to Yun Xiao's heart through these words. On each tomb plaque, with every stroke of blood, write the ultimate sorrow. From left to right. AI2, the tomb of Qin Qingcheng. AI2, the tomb of Li Qingwei. AI2, the tomb of Du Qinghai. Love disciple, the tomb of Kai Qingyun. There are a total of 7 seats. 7 young generations, beloved disciples. 7740.9, deeply imprinted with blood characters on tombstones. Every stroke and stroke reveals the writer's grief, heartbreak, and burning anger. From these bloody characters, Yun Xiao seemed to see a scene of a white-haired person sending away 7 black-haired people. Entering the sword pavilion, first pay respects to the tomb. Recalling what Elder Yu had said, Yun Xiao went up and paid his respects one by one. He saw that in front of the 7 graves, the wine glasses were still full, and there should be people worshipping them often. Who are you? A lazy voice came from behind. Yun Xiao turned around. In front of me is a man wearing a yellow sword robe. His hair was like a chicken coop, his beard was curly, his eyes were cloudy, and he was very messy. At this moment, he was pinching a fragrant big chicken leg, nibbling on it while watching Yun Xiao. The oil from the chicken leg dripped onto his beard. Gollum. In Yun Xiao's arms, the little black beast was about to move. I am a new disciple of the sword pavilion, surnamed Yun and named Xiao. Yun Xiao arched his hand. New disciple. The person fiercely gnawed on 2 large chicken legs and exclaimed excitedly, "It's been a breakthrough for 3 years. The sword pavilion finally has a new disciple, Shi Dapu Ben." He smiled all over and came to Yun Xiao's side. His greasy hand rested on Yun Xiao's shoulder and he sighed, "You're so handsome. I announce that from today on, the pavilion grass of the sword pavilion will be yours." Yun Xiao looked at the butter on his shoulder. He smiled. Turns out, there are still interesting people in this Qinghun sword sect. I don't know what to call this martial uncle. Yun Xiao arched his hand and asked. How old are you? The man lifted his bangs and stared at Yun Xiao. 16, Yun Xiao said. Damn it. I'm only 1 year older than you, you call me Uncle Jimao, the man shouted. Yes, Master Jimao. Yun Xiao said respectfully. No. The man raised his chicken legs and gritted his teeth. What I mean is, you should call me senior brother. Yun Xiao suddenly realized and awkwardly said, I'm sorry, I misunderstood. I've seen senior brother Jimao before. Puff. The man immediately sprayed rice and pointed at himself, roaring, I'm not surnamed Chicken Feathers. Chicken feathers are tone words, do you understand? Yun Xiao was stunned. Oh, may I ask your senior brother's surname? He asked with a smile. The man was satisfied and patted his chest, saying, My surname is Kai, my name is Mao Mao. Yun Xiao. Isn't this similar to Chicken Feathers? Yun Xiao, from now on, senior brother Kai will cover you. Kai Mao Mao hooked his shoulder and said with a sorrowful expression, Senior brother is too lonely, it's been 3 years. I haven't seen a new face. Okay, Yun Xiao nodded. It's already late, senior sister Zhao hasn't seen anyone alive at night. Kai Mao Mao thought for a moment and continued, so tonight, you and I will squeeze together. Tomorrow, I will take you to find her, obtain a disciple token, and join the sword sect. For the rest of your life, you will be a member of the Green Soul Sword sect. Miss Zhao. That's right. Kai Mao Mao looked around cautiously and whispered in Yun Xiao's ear, You're a newcomer, senior brother is a newcomer. While it's still hot, let me first explain the first survival rule of the sword pavilion to you. The law of survival. What is it? Yun Xiao was puzzled. Don't provoke senior sister Zhao. Remember. Seeing him so revered, Yun Xiao thought to himself, probably a cold and arrogant cultivator like Yigaing. This kind of person is not very interesting. Let's go, senior brother is happy today. I'll make some dishes to help you clean up the dust. Senior brother's roasted chicken is delicious. Could you please add the word do? Senior brother made roasted chicken, Yun Xiao said with a sweat. Huh, junior brother Yun, you're really abnormal. Kai Mao Mao laughed, but I like it. Yun Xiao. As night falls, everything is silent. Yun Xiao felt the first hint of warmth in his green soul. Yi Guao. Yao Qingqian lifted the gauze and saw a bloody object in front of him, and immediately screamed. If it were just an ordinary head, she wouldn't be so frightened. The deceased, it's Yi Guao. The younger brother of King Yi Jian died on the heavenly road. Who will take responsibility? Her heart was pounding wildly. Who killed it? Yao Qing said in a shallow cold voice. I don't know, said the bystander. I don't know. Everyone listen. Yao Qingqian's face turned grim and shouted, seal the way. No one is allowed to leave this time for those who participate in the heavenly ascension road. Except for those who have become disciples of the Green Soul, everyone else will be taken to the Forbidden Sword prison first. Many sword cultivators from the first sword peak around are taking action immediately. Find me some ice cubes, Yao Qingqian said. What do you want ice cubes for? The others were taken aback. Of course, it's freezing Yi Guao. When Yi Jianwang returns from the Sea of 10,000 Swords, he will live to see people and die to see corpses. Yao Qingqian is feeling sad and gloomy again. Although Jiang Yu took off, Yi Gaing's younger brother died. She didn't even know how furious Yi Gaing would be when she returned. No matter who it is, I will definitely pull it out first, otherwise, the Sword King of Yi will really not forgive me. The first sword peak. The night gradually deepened. The green soul during the day is like a fairyland. Under the night sky, green souls and ghosts roam freely. In an exquisite hall. Sword Lord disciple Wang Feng loosened his muscles and turned to face the 9 disciples of the first sword peak. The night is dark and the wind is high, killing people. Let's go, let's vent our anger for junior sister Jiang Yu. His tone was cold. Did Elder Yao write a letter? Which sword peak dares to recruit that unlucky ghost? Everyone smiled and asked. Jian Gu. Wang Feng touched his nose and smiled. Ha! Hearing this place, others couldn't help but burst into laughter. I heard he took away all the 500-year-old demon bones of the Yi Sword King. This is his true purpose. Wang Feng's eyes were filled with deep greed. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Killing you like killing a chicken. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. Killing you like killing a chicken. Sword Pavilion, at night. There are only a few solitary lights. One of them belongs to Yun Xiao and senior brother Kai. Come, try senior brother's roasted chicken. In a simple wooden room, Kai Mao Mao was busy for half a day, bringing a bowl of delicious food. The taste is pretty good, Yun Xiao flipped over a few times with his chopsticks and asked in confusion, but isn't this a field chicken? Real chicken, I've already eaten it during the day. Kai Mao Mao scratched his head. The two of them lowered their heads and were about to move their chopsticks when their faces suddenly froze. Where's my chicken? Kai Mao Mao was surprised. The table is empty. Yun Xiao was stunned and reached out to touch, leaving his arms empty. Click, click. Looking back, I don't know when the little black beast will appear. It uses its 2 small animal claws to lift a large basin with a volume of 3 times or more, and pours a large basin of field chicken directly into the bloodshed of its chest. In the blink of an eye, it's gone. This little black beast has very sharp teeth, and after a few bites, its belly immediately becomes round and round. Kai Mao Mao's aura is bloated. Where did the little monster come from? Take my sword. As soon as he finished speaking, Yun Xiao quickly stood in front of him, picked up the little black beast, and awkwardly said, "Senior brother Kai, is this my pet?" "A cat. Your cat has horns on its head and a big mouth on its chest." Kai Mao Mao was stunned. "There's no way, mixed race breed, with a miserable background," Yun Xiao said. Kai Mao Mao. What cross-species love can mix up like this? The chicken is gone. I can only squat at the door and chat. Yun Xiao asked about Qing Hun, and he probably had some answers in his mind. The 7 graves at the entrance are the 7 sons of the Sword Pavilion. Kai Mao Mao let out a bitter smile, once the glory of the Sword Pavilion. They are the strongest generation in the history of the Sword Pavilion. When they defended the Green Soul, there was nothing wrong with Yi Gaiing. Among them, the 7th son, Kai Qing Yun, is my brother. I'm sorry, Yun Xiao said. Ah. Junior brother Yun, I was supposed to clean up the dust for you today, but unfortunately, the chicken is gone. Kai Mao Mao still harbors a grudge against this matter. If they eat, it's equivalent to me eating. Yun Xiao smiled, "Senior brother Kai, thank you. Life is a stranger, we meet by chance. With a heart, that's enough." "You're welcome, senior brother. I used to cook for 7 or 8 people, but now I'm the only one who eats. Eating alone is boring," Kai Mao Mao said sorrowfully. "Then you should do more in the future," Yun Xiao smiled. "What?" Kai Mao Mao asked. "It has 7 or 8 appetites," Yun Xiao said, touching the small beast in his arms. Chiwa grinned at him dumbfounded, her mouth wide open. Kai Mao Mao's hair stagnated. What a sin! A loud scream echoed through the night sky. In the blink of an eye, it's late at night. Yun Xiao left the house and arrived at the back mountain where he couldn't see his fingers. The little black beast emerged from his arms, with a pair of dark blue eyes that looked like 2 ghostly flames at night. "Take out those things from Yi Gua's body," said Blue Star. Yun Xiao threw away some useless things, such as a woman's belly bag. He doesn't know why he got this thing when he's 13 years old. Finally, he had 30 sparkling spirit crystals left in his hand. This is a mineral that is nourished by spiritual energy for years and months, which has the effects of assisting cultivation and accelerating the absorption of spiritual energy. It's all here. As soon as Yun Xiao finished speaking, the small black beast in his arms rushed along his arm and onto his palm, opening its bloody chest. Click. It grunted and ate these 30.3 spiritual crystals. Damn it. You eat all this stuff. Yun Xiao was shocked. Ordinary cultivators who dare to swallow spiritual crystals are likely to explode. Even if it doesn't explode, it will still clog the intestines, isn't it, Grandma? The taste is the most amazing. Everything else can only fill the void. Chiwa said solemnly. The pot of roasted chicken in love is also filling the void. Yun Xiao hasn't asked why it ate Ling Jing yet. Something amazing happened. Ling Jing entered the stomach, and a majestic spiritual energy shook in the abdomen of the small black beast, causing Yun Xiao's blood and energy to churn. The abdomen of this little black beast seems to have ignited a fiery red, with blood vessels clearly visible under its fur. Is it refining? The refining process is not too long. The blood and fire gradually faded, and the little black beast returned to normal. Just at this moment, the blue star on the head of the little black beast suddenly covered its throat, looking as if it was about to vomit. "Are you pregnant?" Yun Xiao joked. Ouch. Unexpectedly, Blue Star really vomited. It spat out a small, blood-colored bead the size of a fish's eye, shaped like a pearl, with dim light surging. What is this? Yun Xiao pinched the small blood droplet. Although this thing is small, it seems to contain extremely strong power. Heavenly Tao relics. Blue Star vomited and covered his throat, looking very nauseous. What's the use? Yun Xiao asked. It can be used as a pill in your mortal world, and its effect is similar to that of the divine sea pill, Blue Star coughed. What? Yun Xiao is a bit confused. No, he sorted his thoughts. Red Moon ate 30 spirit crystals and refined them into heavenly relics. You spit them out from your mouth, and I will take them for oral cultivation. Yeah. Let's share the same belly, can we help you refine it together? Blue Star stared. Ah Dao, there's saliva from both of us on this, it's cheaper for you, hee hee. Chiyue chuckled foolishly. Yun Xiao. Nima. He refused. A great man standing in the world, how can he eat your saliva? Yun Xiao shook his head repeatedly. This celestial relic, if not expected, can make you reach the middle stage of Longquan realm tonight. Blue Star rolled his eyes and said. What? Yun Xiao glared at them, only one of these good things is there. Do you look down on me? Blue Star and Red Moon were stunned. Ah Dao, if you really can't stand Blue Star vomiting, I can work harder and pull it out, Chiyue chuckled. Get lost. Yun Xiao pinched the relic tightly and sniffed it on his nose. How can there be a smell of roasted field chicken in this Taoist temple? Because it is not only related to spiritual crystals, but also to anything we eat, said Blue Star. Yun Xiao. That is to say, including tree roots and stones during the day. It is truly an ancient bronze coffin. I have to accept it. Boom. They transformed into the pitch-black copper coffin in this dark night and quietly entered it. Ascending to the Immortal Sect. Enter the coffin for cultivation. There is only one person in the world. Yun Xiao sat cross-legged in the coffin, pinching his nose, and with a fierce heart, he threw this roasted chicken-flavored heavenly relic into his stomach. As soon as he thought about this thing passing through 3 mouths, his stomach churned. In the future, he may have to take it every day, as it becomes even more bitter. Fortunately, the utility of the heavenly Tao's relics is immediately released. Is it really like a legendary pill? So, this little black beast is still a mobile alchemy furnace. All things can be sacrificed by the heavenly way. Its medicinal effect and Yun Xiao, the divine body of creation, naturally match perfectly. The Longquan realm is just a process of increasing mana, and the mystery is not too great. The effects of pills and heavenly relics are both good. However, the cost of pills can be several times higher than the cost of heavenly relics. Buzz. Yun Xiao could clearly feel that the Taoist relics were released that day, and the vast medicinal power filled all 4 limbs and bones. Hunyuan Village Method. Even the surface of this method is enough to fully transform the utility of the Heavenly Path relic into the Yuan Su Long Quan. Within the Dantian, the Void God Dragon gathers magic, expands a lot and regenerates a claw. In the middle of Longquan realm, 2 claws. Senior Brother Kai is in the later stage and has the 3-claw dragon spring. But my sword spirit and Yuan Su dragon spring quality. Combined, I should be stronger than him. The day has just broken through Longquan, and the night is in the middle. Visible to the naked eye, it becomes stronger. Yun Xiao didn't stop, but instead took out 500 years of demon bones from the coffin. The blood demon is a demon that is transformed by resentment, so it is listed as a dirty demon. The dirty demon has no demon bones and is not as valuable as the beast demon. The demonic bone in Yun Xiao's hand has a ferocious aura, clearly coming from a chaotic demon king. Extremely fierce. Sword Spirit, how to refine demon bones. Yun Xiao heard that he wanted to use his sword spirit to tear open the demon bones and suck on the demon marrow. Some sword spirit levels are too low to cut open demon bones and absorb the bone marrow of the great demon. Even if cut open, there is still a possibility of not being able to hold on and dying by exploding the sword. Yun Xiao is not worried at all about this. This sword soul has an ordinary appearance and is perfect for me. Thinking of those people, they turned a blind eye to the sword spirit composed of the divine heavenly pillar and the burial heavenly coffin. Yun Xiao held his sword spirit, his sword tip pressing against the demon bone. Ding! The demon bone trembled like a fierce beast struggling, and a fierce scream rushed into the sea of cloud and soul. Tear it off. The sword soul pierced into the demon bone, and strands of blood and bone marrow were sucked in. On the surface and inner layers of the sword soul, layers of sword shards began to condense. 2 floors, 3 floors. 5 floors. 500 years of demon bone, causing Yun Xiao's sword spirit to soar to the 5th level in one go. This layer is 2 layers higher than Jiang Yu and Kai Mao Mao. Among the disciples, the number of layers of this sword is already considered high. Sword gang is also a very important part of the burial heaven sword spirit. With sword gang, it grows from its primitive state, becoming more rigid, fierce, and full of killing energy. In the middle stage of Longquan realm, there are 5 layers of sword energy. Progress made. The most terrifying attribute of the burial heaven sword spirit is to eat someone else's sword spirit. He is about to calm down and strengthen his strength. Your senior brother Kai is going to die. Blue Star suddenly said. Who moved their hand? Yun Xiao suddenly stood up, with a sword-like aura in his eyes. According to the voice, they come from the first sword peak, said Blue Star. It seems that its hearing is also good. Oh. Yun Xiao was full of murderous intent, escaping into the darkness and rushing back. The night of the sword pavilion. It's really a bit pitch black. A dim courtyard, a few candles shimmering. The sword light roared, leaving deep marks on the walls and roofs. Bang! Kai Mao Mao fell to the ground, with several bloodstains on his legs, and blood splattered down. 2 dazzling sword spirits crossed his neck. Get over here. 2 burly sword cultivators on the left and right escorted him to a young boy in an orange sword robe. That young man is the 12th disciple of Sword Lord, Wang Feng. Along with Wang Feng, a total of 10 disciples from the first sword peak have surrounded this courtyard. They all had cold sarcastic smiles on their faces. Let me say one more thing, there is no new disciple named Yun Xiao in my sword pavilion. Kai Mao Mao's eyes were blazing with anger, holding back the pain and looking up. No. Wang Feng slapped Kai Mao Mao's face, leaving a blood mark. He said fiercely, do you have it now? Even if you kill me, you won't. Kai Mao Mao glared at Wang Feng, you are too arrogant. The sword pavilion is the main bloodline of the green soul, and I can't tolerate your recklessness. Haha. Upon hearing these words, they couldn't help but laugh. The main channel of the green soul. How many pigs and dogs' main veins are left after death? Friend, times have changed. Wang Feng sneered and grabbed Kai Mao Mao's hair, saying, you still want to protect him, right? Kai Mao Mao gritted his teeth and remained silent. Lin Yen. Cut off his palm, I'll see how he practices swordsmanship in the future. Wang Feng's face turned fierce and he said to a young man beside him. Lin Yen is the new disciple who was selected by Yao Qingqian as the first sword peak and ranked 3rd on the Heavenly Ascension Road today. How dare you? Kai Mao Mao's face turned white. The people from your sword pavilion, even if they die, no one will bury them, let alone chop their hands. Wang Feng laughed. Kai Mao Mao glared angrily at Wang Feng and struggled hard. Unfortunately, he has already been injured. Wang Hu and Wang Qing, who were escorting him, were both clan brothers brought by Wang Feng from the secular world with green souls. They both had the strength of the later stage of the Longquan realm and possessed the 3-claw Longquan, which was comparable to his realm. The other party bullies the less with more. He was defeated, there's no way out. Lin Yen. Wang Feng shouted again. Yes. Lin Yan's face tightened slightly. This is his first day entering the first sword peak. Take out the murderous aura of the first sword peak. Remember, we are now the benchmark for Qinghun sword cultivation, Wang Feng educated. You are the shame of the green soul, humanoid demons. Kai Mao Mao said in disgust. The others continued to laugh. And Lin Yan's heart was ruthless. He has just entered the green soul, and Wang Feng's circle as a sword lord disciple is extremely important to him. This cut is a declaration of surrender. Ding! He condensed a red sword spirit in his hand, transforming into a palm sword and holding it in his hand. Lin Yan's eyes fixed on Kai Mao Mao's hand pressed to the ground. Tear it off. He gritted his teeth and fought hard to cut it off. Just at this moment. Bang! The open courtyard door was suddenly knocked open. A young man in white walked in, his face calm. I'm here, let him go. As he spoke, his gaze swept over senior brother Kai's face, hands, and feet. In the depths of my eyes, a hint of cold ice flashed. Stop. Wang Feng turned his head and raised his hand to signal Lin Yan to stop the sword. Haha. He and his disciples looked at each other with a smile and shrugged, did you see that? The field chicken has arrived. Tianji. What does it mean? Yun Xiao raised his eyebrows. Sword soul peeling technique. Wang Feng smiled jokingly and looked up and down at Yun Xiao, unable to help but sigh, you have a good skin bag, but unfortunately the soul inside is not good. It's just right, I'll peel one for you. Peeling. Yun Xiao smiled. His body is really just a skin. Do you understand? Wang Feng joked. I understand, Yun Xiao said. Are you not afraid? Wang Feng was stunned. Junior brother Yun, hurry up. Their methods are ruthless and they want to harm you. Kai Mao Mao said in a mournful voice. He was burning with anxiety. Yun Xiao glanced at him again. He really didn't expect that the emotions of a meal were quite heavy. Senior brother Kai, is there no one to care about here? Yun Xiao asked. I am a solitary peak. Kai Mao Mao said with a soil-colored face. Understand. Yun Xiao nodded repeatedly. But he didn't leave. The conversation between these two people made Wang Feng burst into laughter. His patience is limited. Lin Yan. Didn't you say that you were the one with the strongest combat power on the heavenly road today, and it was just bad luck that made you fall behind? Wang Feng pointed to Yun Xiao, come on, let's play with this little field chicken for you first. Thank you, senior brother Wang. Lin Yan's eyes lit up and his fighting spirit surged. He has a top-grade shake light sword spirit, while Yun Xiao's Qinglian sword spirit is just a low-grade shake light. When awarding the reward, he was indeed envious of Yun Xiao's 500-year demon bone. Zheng. He grabbed the red sword spirit and walked towards Yun Xiao, saying coldly, Yun Xiao. You are the first on the path to heaven, but you. Halfway through the conversation. Suddenly. Shoo. A burst of blue light shot towards us. What? Lin Yan was surprised. Puzzy. Before he could lift his head, the blue light passed through his eyebrows. A sword pierces through the head. When? The blue light nailed to the pillar behind his head, buzzing. Lin Yan's eyes turned white, his gaze remaining on the last moment of astonishment, and then he collapsed straight to the ground. Dead. The blue sword soul suddenly spun and roared back, being caught by Yun Xiao's outstretched hand. Is this the strongest way to climb the sky? Yun Xiao looked at Wang Feng and shook his head. Wang Feng and others were all stunned for a moment. The courtyard is completely silent. Do you dare to kill the disciple of the first sword peak? Wang Hu, who was escorting Kai Mao Mao, looked wooden. Still killing in front of us. Wang Qing beside him was even more shocked. Yeah, it's like killing a chicken, Yun Xiao said. You. Wang Feng was only stunned for a moment, and immediately became furious. That's because he saw the sword spirit in Yun Xiao's hand, which had 5 layers of sword spirit. This indicates that he has refined the demon bone. And it has been refined clean. 500 years of demon bones. The disciples of Longquan realm need to refine for at least 5 days. How could it be refined in just a few hours? Brother Yun. Even Kai Mao Mao was stunned. They were both outnumbered and destined for a miserable fate. Why did Yun Xiao kill first? Is there still a way to survive? Everyone glanced at Lin Yen again. In the mud on the floor, there was blood dripping from the back of his head. Do you dare to kill me, Wang Feng's people? Wang Feng's eyes were electrified as he looked at Yun Xiao fiercely. Do you choose to kneel down and die directly, or should I personally send you on the road? As soon as he finished speaking, a white shadow swept past him. What? Wang Feng turned around. Yun Xiao has already killed Wang Hu and Wang Qing in front of him. Who is talking nonsense to him? Senior brother Kai. Yun Xiao shouted, his eyes full of sharpness. Understood. Fighting. Kai Mao Mao roared angrily, unleashing his sword spirit and leaping up amidst the chaos. Seeking death. In the later stage of the Longquan realm, Wang Hu and Wang Qing both had a higher realm than Yun Xiao. Their sword spirit is all triple sword spirit. Among them, Wang Hu's sword spirit is very broad, like a heavy sword. The heavy sword soul was originally pressing on Kai Mao Mao's neck, and Yun Xiao killed him with a sword, so he could only hold the sword back to block it. Another sword. Yun Xiao has been honing on the battlefield since childhood, practicing all his killing skills. Hurry up. Accurate fierce. Lower grade shaking light. Wang Hu sneered, his sword spirit was also top-notch, shaken by the 3 powerful swords, as hard as black iron. He struck with one sword. A flash of blue light pierced his sword soul. Ding! The piercing friction sound erupted, sparks splashed everywhere. Compete with me for swordsmanship, what kind of thing are you? Ah! The grim smile on Wang Hu's face suddenly stiffened. Kaka kaka. Boom! His sword spirit exploded into fragments on the spot, shining like brilliant fireworks throughout the entire courtyard. The tremendous force of the collision knocked Wang Hu, this burly body, flying out and crashing into the wall. Sword soul shattered, human soul destroyed. Losing his soul, Wang Hu's eyes turned white on the spot, curled up on the ground with spasms and foaming at the mouth. Yun Xiao is most afraid of this. Sword soul shattered, even more painful than death, not only useless, but also foolish. Sword cultivation is already a dead end. Wang Hu. This scene immediately made everyone's hearts twitch. He is already the #1 general under Wang Feng's command. Sword soul shattered. What kind of strong sword spirit is needed to instantly shatter the opponent's sword spirit in a confrontation? This kid is very strong. Wang Feng only realized this problem at this moment. But it's already too late. Yun Xiao is as fast as a lightning storm. He decided to kill himself and had no intention of keeping his hand. This is a solitary peak. After destroying Wang Hu's sword spirit, he suddenly killed Wang Qing next to him. And Wang Qing was entangled in a fight with Kai Mao Mao. Wang Qing's eyes suddenly caught a glimpse of Yun Xiao's sword destroying Wang Hu. He turned around and turned his sword into a flying sword. Zheng. The young man in white suddenly swung his sword and came flying wildly. Shoo! A flash of blue light. Feng Di. Help me. Just as Wang Qing shouted out, his sword spirit was crushed by Kai Mao Mao's desperate efforts. He couldn't separate himself for a moment. No. In the midst of Wang Qing's shock, the blue light had already reached his sight. Puzzy. The blue light passed through his chest, and a blood hole with a diameter of 3 inches burst open in his heart position. Dang dang dang. Wang Qing took 3 steps back and stared at Yun Xiao with wide eyes, filled with fear and despair. Bang. He lay on the ground, blood staining the ground. Wang Qing. Wang Feng's eyes were bloodshot. Another death. Yun Xiao suddenly exploded and forcefully killed 3 people in a row, which he really didn't expect. When he reacted and killed Yun Xiao with his sword, Yun Xiao had already swung his deadly flying sword. Wang Qing, die. And Wang Feng's sword spirit only left a bloodstain on Yun Xiao's arm. Who? This young man in white, without even looking at the bloodstains, turned his sword spirit back into a palm sword and turned to look at Wang Feng. His gaze, like a cold sky, scrutinized Wang Feng. Wow! There are 6 sword cultivators and men, all gathered behind Wang Feng. They looked at Yun Xiao, their eyes trembling, and they dared not breathe. Even stronger than them, Wang Hu and Wang Qing have died. Kill me with one blow. Killing people like wildfire. Can they not be afraid? Those who are brave and fierce in their mouths often have a fierce and cunning demeanor. That's what they're talking about. Encountering a really tough person, my legs and feet are trembling. Junior brother Yun. Kai Mao Mao stood beside Yun Xiao, looking at the harmless young man and animal during the day. His mind was buzzing and he couldn't say anything. 3 corpses on the ground made him all hair. Is this still good enough? He gritted his teeth and looked at Wang Feng, saying, he is the 12th disciple of the Sword Lord. He just entered the Green Soul 2 months ago and has already broken through 2 layers, achieving a complete Longquan realm with 4 claws. 2 times higher than Yun Xiao. Yun Xiao glanced at Wang Feng's sword gang, which was also a 5-layer sword gang. Moreover, its sword spirit level. Lower level Kaiyang level. It is precisely because of the Kaiyang level sword spirit that he can become a disciple of the Sword Lord. In Qing Han, the position of Sword Lord's disciple is comparable to that of an elder. How about? Kai Mao Mao's heart trembled as he wanted to take Yun Xiao to escape. But if everyone is killed, where can they escape? As soon as he finished speaking, Wang Feng across from him said in a cold and extreme voice, Yun Xiao, the lives of the 3 disciples of the first sword peak, you can't afford a lowly life anymore. Isn't that right? I only killed 3, rounding them up means I didn't kill them, Yun Xiao said. Do you dare to argue? If you kill, you will kill. Wang Feng said angrily. Yun Xiao suddenly smiled and said, okay, then I'll kill a few more and round up the whole number. Whole, how much is it? 10. Including Wang Feng, they only came a total of 10 people. Don't. Kai Mao Mao reached out and pulled, but only touched the sleeve of the boy's shirt, unable to hold it down at all. You bastard, you really don't understand what Sword Master's disciple is. Wang Feng's face was grim, and with the yellow sand sword spirit in his hand, the courtyard was filled with flying sand and rocks. This Kaiyang level sword spirit actually has the effect of gathering dust and fighting. Seeing the 2 of them about to be killed together. Just at this moment, a voice that was extremely cold echoed from behind Yun Xiao. It seems that I have found the killer of Yi Jinwang's younger brother. Who? Kai Mao Mao's hair stood on end. He suddenly turned back. In the corner of the courtyard, a cold and gorgeous woman in a red dress lifted Lin Yan's body. The sword wound at the center of Lin Yan's eyebrows is spreading and turning into thick black smoke. Yi Gua's head wound also has the decay caused by this sword spirit. The woman in the red dress slammed and dropped Lin Yan's body. Boom. Her majestic magical power in the divine sea realms suppressed Yun Xiao. Kill the plane, surging. Her cold eyes stared at Yun Xiao like snow and ice. On the sword beacon today, you casually said, I didn't even kill a dog. That's what made me doubt you. She is Yao Qingqian, Elder Yao. Wang Feng got Yun Xiao's whereabouts from her mouth. And she followed up. She didn't expect to see this scene either now. She squinted her eyes, slightly raised her chin, and scrutinized the young man in white with an extremely cold gaze. Do you know, Yun Xiao? If you carry a little secret and dare to pretend to be clever, pretending to be a god and playing tricks on the immortal road, you will die a miserable death. End of this chapter.